This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. I've watched you, lived with you for...
Why can't this moment last forevermore? Tonight eternity's an open door. No, don't ever stop doing the things you do. Don't go. In every breath I take, I'm breathing you. Euphoria, forever till the end of time. From now on, only you and I. We're going out. Euphoria, an everlasting peace of ours. A beating love within my heart. We're going out. We are here. We're not alone in our own universe. We are free, where everything's allowed and love comes first. Forever and ever together, we sail into infinity. We're higher and higher and higher. We're reaching for divinity. Yeah, euphoria, forever till the end of time. From now on, only you and I. We're going out. Euphoria, an everlasting peace of ours. A beating love within my heart. We're going out. Forever, we sail into infinity. We're higher, we're reaching for divinity. Oh, euphoria. Euphoria, we're going out. Euphoria, an everlasting peace of ours. A beating love within my heart. We're going out. Euphoria. Oh, euphoria. We're going out.
That's the one. That is the one. Peace to the east, west, north, and the south. Welcome to Aquarius Rizing, the ninth gate. That is Laureen. She's one of my favorite young artists. It's called Euphoria. I think it was so relative, a relative song to the topic we're discussing tonight, and the wonderful guest we're having on tonight, KiKi. I just wanted to play that song. The energies are so high. As you see, I'm clearing and cleansing our space. You know, I like to keep our room nice and clean. People are checking in. Everyone's getting their snacks. You know how we get down. I want to start off kicking off our ley lines as I'd like to energetically connect to all of our family. You know what you do. Start checking in your location, your locale, so we can start interconnecting our ley lines, start creating our own energetic grid that connects to our family. So kick off your region. Let's get a crump. Joy started off. Las Vegas is in the house. Big up to y'all. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hey, tribe. Big up to you. Tulsa, California representing. What's good? Vancouver, my favorite person, Selma's in the house. In the Netherlands, hey, Adriana. Milwaukee's in the house. North Carolina's in the house. Maryland's in the house. Kentucky's in the house. Chicago's in the house. Washington Heights, what's good? East Indoor. Alberta, you guys are going so fast. I want to make sure I get Washington Heights, NYC, East Windsor, New Jersey's in the house. ATL represent. What up, ATL? Jersey's in the house. What's good? Argentina. Argentina's in the house. Los Angeles is in the house. Pachug, Long Island's in the house. I love the native name. ATL also represents. Georgia in the house. Listen, Georgia, I was just there. I love you. Berkeley's in the house. California, Texas is in the house. Purple Dragon was representing. Maitreya is representing. BX was good. Queens is in the house. Antelope Valley, California representing. PA in the house. New Zealand representing. Mount Clair, California is in the house. Brooklyn. What up, Alicia? Detroit's in the house. D-Town representing. Florida, Spring Hill, Florida's in the house. What's good, Donna? Tulsa, Oklahoma representing. Atlanta is representing. What's up, ATL? I'm feeling the Georgia vibration tonight. Big up to all my Georgians in the house. My Atlanteans in the house. Woodbine, Maryland represent. What's good? West Chicago representing. New Mexico, Texas. Portland, England's in the house. Would you look at Hey, I love England. Big up to the UK representing. Dallas representing. London, Maitreya representing. And the UK, Alabama's in the house. Oregon's in the house. Ohio representing. Mississippi. What's good, D-Money? Southern Maryland. Hey, Carolyn. Utah representing. Hey, Cha. Hello. Poconos in the house. Up in the mountains. What up, Teresa? Minnesota representing. Ocho Rios, Jamaica. What up? Big up. Midtown Motor City in the house. What's good, April? I love it. Arkansas represent. Orlando, my neck of the woods. Hey, Andy, girl, you're my neighbor. ATL, what's up, Georgia? Dallas represent. D-Town, Los Angeles, Alabama, Houston. What's good? Illinois, Northern Illinois in the house. Alaska. Brrr. Is it chilly in Alaska? Brooklyn. What's why up? Brooklyn. Bethlehem is in the house. Hey, that was my old neck of the woods at one point. H-Town representing. Covington, Louisiana. We might be in your neck of the woods for the conference, Louisiana. Australia, down under. Hey, Barbie girl. Big up to y'all. Toronto, Ontario's in the house. What's good? Hey, Chanelli. D-Town representing. Virginia representing. Arkansas representing. Paris. Fort Lauderdale representing. Hey, my neck of the woods right now. We have Atlanta, spaceships in Atlanta. Are we going to get into that discussion tonight? Texas in the house, Wyoming in the house, Texas, D.C. in the house, Tucson, Arizona in the house, me. Cadillac said it's just me. I hear you, Cadillac. Fort Lauderdale representing, Illinois representing. Alaska, summertime in Alaska. Beautiful. Crete, Illinois is in the house. New York is in the house. Alaska, I think they're talking from Alaska. Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the house. Scout in Tallahassee. Florida again in the house. Kansas represent. Davenport, Iowa's in the house. Hey, imperfect student. Alaska represent. Wait, Alaska. Listen, Alaska. What's going on? You guys are feeling inspired for the conversation tonight. Welcome. Alaska's in the house. Madison, Wisconsin's in the house. We have my dude Mike. Is that someone's dude Mike in the house? Mike from Michael George. Mexico City's in the house. Hey, what up, LaMarcus? ATL, what's going on? There's going to be a false flag. We'll get in that conversation. We have Buffalo, New York. What up, upstate New York? Seattle, Washington's in the house. Plantation, Florida. Again, in my neck of the woods. Hey, Rose. California's in the house. West Coast representing. Deep tonight. Miami, Florida. What up, Florida? Florida, you guys are up for the conversation? Toronto's in the house. Minnesota's in the house. North Carolina's in the house. Argentina. I love Argentina. And New York. Did I catch up? I actually caught up with the feed, or the feed just stopped. Anyway, so big up to all my family in the house. I'd like to kick off the other places. Rocky Mountain, North Carolina in the house. Texas in the house. Toronto is in the house. What's good? Canada always represented. Hey, Nunez. Chi-Town in the house. Sydney, Australia. What's good? Planet Earth is in the house. I hope so. I hope we haven't left the planet without our knowledge or consent. VA in the house. What's good? Cali represent. What up, West Coast? You guys are nice and early tonight as we're working in the evening. Okay, so I think we have everyone checking in. D-Town representing. Okay, Milky Way. Laura says she's representing the Milky Way. I hear that. So just for those who haven't checked in that normally call in, we have, I wanted to give a big Shout out to Yafi. Yafi, oh, I didn't bring it. Yafi is, she lives in Israel. She actually, we had a chat. We had a KiKi the other night. Hey, Callie. Callie's in the house. Lacoste Grove. Callie's in the house. And she actually sent these really beautiful sheets from Tel Aviv. Big Island, Hawaii. A big aloha. Because everyone said I said mahalo, which means thank you. I'm going to correct myself. Aloha in Hawaii. Thank you. I appreciate it. So she sent me these really nice Hamza sheets. Oh, they're beautiful. So I want to give a shout out to Yafi from Israel, from Tel Aviv. She works in so beautiful, beautiful place in Tel Aviv. Give her a shout out. Give a shout out to all those who were representing. Give a shout out to those coming from abroad. I want to give a shout out to our family in the Middle East, especially in Jordan. I got homies in Jordan now. Quebec City's in the house was good. Big up to our family in Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Big up to our family over in Palestine. Big up to our family in Palestine. Big up to our family over in Kuwait. Big up to our family going a little further south in Yemen. Big up to our family in Jafar. Big up to our family in Abu Dhabi. Big up to Sirius is in the house. What's good? New Jersey's represented. Hey Kay, what's good? Big up to our family in the Congo. We're going to talk about the Congo tonight, the Republic of Congo, because it's very relative in the topic tonight. Big up to our family in Liberia. Big up to our family in, of course, Kenya. Big up to our family in Nairobi. Big up to our family in Mozambique. Il est parlé français aussi. Big up to our family in, of course, South Africa. Big up to our family in, of course, oh my gosh, I had, mon Dieu, my mind, you know, when you have baby on the brain, it was right there, it was right there. Okay, big up to our family. There was one place that I wanted to, because they say I never shout them out, and it was right there on the tip of my tongue. Cape Verde. Cape Verde. Big up to our family in Cape Verde. Oh, Ghana's in the house. Thank you for representing Ghana. But Cape Verde. Oh, of course. Big up to our family over in India. A beautiful family in India. Big up to our family, of course, in Thailand. And also big up to our family in Vietnam. Big up to our family in China and Japan. Big up to our family in, actually, South Korea. Big up to our family over in Europe. Let's get in Europe. Big up to our family in France, representing the francophonic side, which you know Flabrun is. Big up to France, big up to Spain, big up to, of course, Turkey and oh my gosh, my mind is so. Big up to Italy, south of Italy. Oh, big up to our family in Morocco and Spain. Let me just say that. Big up to our family in Morocco. We have quite a big, huge family in Spain, especially in Morocco on the other side. Not Morocco, it's in the south part of Spain. Darn, my mind is so many places. I'm usually good at this. Big up to our family in the south of Spain. I'm usually right on point. Where is it? It's not. It's on the south side towards Morocco. Anyway, big up to Morocco is in the house. Big up to Portugal. Portugal's in the house. Big up to, it'll come to me in a minute. Big up to our family. Thank you. I appreciate it. Big up to our family in which we call in Athens. We have a beautiful family in Athens. So big up to our family in Athens. Big up to our family in Ireland, especially over in oh my gosh, what is going on tonight? I must be so excited. Or the AIs are getting in my head and starting to defrag my brain already. I'm sorry. Big up to our family in Ireland. Big up to our family in Greenland. Big up to our, is it Cadiz? South of Spain? It's not Cadiz. And I just talked to one of our family members. We have like 20 people who are part of our family here from south of Spain. And they were just saying shout out to town, and it'll come to me as we go on. Madrid. Big up to our family in Madrid. That's what it is, Madrid. I finally, baby on the brain, I tell you. Big up to our family in Madrid. Big up to our family in, did I say Greece? I said Athens. We have a beautiful family in Athens. Big up to our family in Greenland and Iceland. Big up to our family in Australia, down under. Big up to our family in New Zealand. A lot of things are going on in New Zealand. We'll talk about that. Big up to our family in Mexico. We're going to Central America. Big up to our family in Panama and Mexico. Big up to our family in Peru. Big up to our family in Colombia. Big up to our family, the Balkans. Big up to our family. We jumped over to Central America. We're gonna go to South. Big up to our family in El Salvador. Big up to our family in Ecuador. Big up to our family in Argentina and Paraguay. Big up to our family of Paraguay. I got Paraguay in there. Big up to our family in Brazil. Brazil, which you'll be seeing us this summer. Big up to hey, New Jersey's in the house. Big up to our family going over to the other side. I think we got the Caribbean, Guatemala representing. Big up to Guatemala's in the house. Big up to Costa Rica and Honduras. Big up to, Phoenix Rising's in Honduras. Big up to Phoenix Rising and his beautiful wife and the baby. Big up to them in Honduras. Big up to our family over in Belize. Big up to our family in the Caribbean. We're going to go Turks and Caicos. Big up to our family in Bahamas. Big up to our family in Barbuda. Big up to our Dominicano family. Big up to our Haitian family, Ça passe. So in Lucia, I represent the French Antilles. Let's say Lucia. Big up to our family in San Lucia, which is my family. Big up to the Martinicans. Martinique is in the house. Big up to our Dominicans, the French Antilles as well. Big up to Guadeloupe is also the French Antilles. Big up to our family, and of course, they just finished their carnival over in that's over Belize, Trinidad and Tobago. Big up to Trinidad. Trinidad's in the house. Big up to y'all. Big up to Jamaica. Big up. We had Ocho Rios already shouting out. Big up to Agartha. The inner earth is representing. Big up to St. Vincent, St. Thomas, St. Croix. That's all of the Virgin Islands. Big up to our family in, of course, Puerto Rico. Represent. We got Boston in the house. Puerto Rico's always representing. Boniqua's always here. And remember, our family that was in the jungles and living in Puerto Rico have done really, really well. Remember, there was a big cataclysm that happened there. Our family is like 20 deep. It's like 30 deep now. They stayed in the jungle and they were actually fine. They camped out, and when it was like 30 days later, I think it was almost 45 days later, I heard from one of them, and they were doing quite well, and they sent pictures. So they're doing fantastic. So big up to our family in Puerto Rico. Big up to our family in Barbados. Big up to our family, of course, in Cuba. And big up to our family representing all over the Caribbean, all over the north, south, west, and east, and I think we connected everywhere else. And big up to our galactic family who always represents as above. And big up to our Aquarian family and our inner earth family. Do you think I got everything? We got the ley lines all interconnected. Do you feel really celestial now, Taurians? Anyway, so we have a fantastic guest on tonight. It's Aries season. Big up to the Aries in the house, all you beautiful, masterful, warlike entities. Big up to y'all represent. Aries, let me say something about you, Aries. I'm speaking to you. You are the most masterful, amazing, most cunning, most intriguing sign. You are fire to your core. You make the best plans. You hold down the fire signs. When we have issues, I'm locked and loaded as a Sagittarius. But let me tell you, Aries, how special you are. We require you because right now in Aries season, the government is going to utilize all the spells and all the rituals that they did to utilize your fire sign to try to bruck it up right now. So big up to all the Aries in the house about to burn it up. Next song I'm going to play for the Aries is The Roof. The Roof. The roof is on fire. We don't give up. Let them. No cursing on the show. This is a family-oriented show. This is an after hours. So big up to all those. Are your twin flames is an Aries? They are beautiful. So witty. Anyway, so family, we're going to get into 5G tonight. Again, with a little bit of conversation of how it interrelates with the rainbow sparkling event, rather. We have an amazing guest on tonight, KiKi. And let me state this. KiKi, as she contacted me a while ago, both myself and Aluna, and I remember just actually reading the email and being absolutely in awe of this sea star. Her mind is amazing. Her intel is incredible. Her ability to see and interconnect certain things that are basically coinciding with events, with certain trends is beyond anything that I've ever actually witnessed before. She is amazing. I actually asked her to be on the show. I'm really grateful that she's going to join us. She's calling in from a distance. She's abroad, and I think this is definitely I know this is going to be a gem tonight. So I would tell you that tonight I'm going to give you the forewarning now that this show is a very important show. I think a lot of entities did their best to try to hamper this show with the technology that shut down. That's why Flurboom was running late. Everything shut down on her end. They were doing things to incept already. But we have a theme here on Aquarius Rising and Flurboom's platform. Can't stop, won't stop. So we're going to keep going on until the break of dawn. Louisiana representing. So, but what I will say, take your notes, get your notebooks, get your snacks. This is going to be a whirlwind of information, a lot of really relative information, and also I'm not keeping this show up. So if you already plan to save the show, I suggest you do so, because the show will be taken down and only put on. Cypher will have access to it in Patreon. Because of the sensitivity of the intel coming in, I want to make sure that I keep it kind of nested. I'm bringing it to you because I feel like YouTube deserves, a lot of you rock with me. Some of you are not on Cypher or Patreon, and many of you are just as dedicated to the information as someone. So I tell you this at the beginning of the show, save it, do what you want. But other than that, it's going to be pulled off for the sanctuary of the information, just to make sure that it keeps its integrity, because I think we're going to get into a lot of really piloted conversations. And like I said, this wonderful sea star is beyond anything that you probably had access to in this way. She's not necessarily someone who outwardly talks publicly, so this might be something that's a little different. She's a very credible writer, so normally she's able to convey herself in writing, but this is something that is a little maybe not as comfortable in her arena. So I want you to welcome her, really make her feel comfortable, and you know how we do. Now I'm going to give you the number, because people were saying last time they didn't get the number until late. I'm going to give you the number. The number to call in is 515-605-9881. Again, 515-605-9881. I suggest you call in early. The phone lines are all ready. Thank you. Selma's got my admin. Selma's got all the numbers down in the box here. Write them down. Call in. If you have a question, push the number 1. I suggest you do it early, because as soon as that fills up, there's nothing I can do after we hit the mark, the hour before 12 o'clock, which our show ends. So if you have to call, you have a question, you have a share, you want to talk to KiKi or myself, I would suggest you call in earlier than later. Again, they're messing with the phone lines a lot of times, and they try to knock people off. So you can definitely call 914-514-74. Wait. Oh my gosh. Uh-oh. Houston, I think they're messing. Okay, so this is interesting, family. It may have been an automated response, but I was about to give a number that wasn't a number on the thing. So we have to be mindful that AI is at play. We were talking about the interaction of AI, telekinesis-wise. They're utilizing part of our mind to be able to interact with us. I apologize for giving you a part of a number that was not the number. So thank you, Selma. The number is 515-605-9881. Press the number 1 if you have a question or a comment. We won't get into that. I'm going to bring KiKi in. We're actually going to discuss and talk, and I want you to actually, we have notes. These are my notes tonight, so we're going to have a really interesting conversation. And I think I'm actually going to bring in KiKi now. So let me get ready. I hope you have everything ready. Okay. All right. I think KiKi's already in. KiKi, I'm going to bring you in. PC Star.
Hello?
Peace, PC Star.
Hi.
Hi, Mama. How are you?
Hi, Hi, everyone.
How are you?
Oh, you know, I'm nervous. You just hype me up a lot. But I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Can you give them a little bird's eye view of yourself, talk about a little bit of yourself, you know, what actually had brought you to some form of heightened awareness, which I noticed that you have. Just a little breakdown, if you don't mind.
Sure. And just so you know, we had such great signal earlier, and of course it's like cutting out a little bit here and there.
I realize.
So if I miss anything,
okay,
please feel free to correct me or repeat yourself or anything.
You're fine.
My name's KiKi, stylist, and I do some makeup. So I'm in the beauty industry, and at the same time, I've also been into mysticism since I was a young child. I've been reading palms since I was 10 years old. So I've always had a very strong intuitive streak, and have always been interested in metaphysics and spirituality, and that's always been a part of my life. And it's come through in my beauty practice as well. And I'm trying to think of how exactly I came across Oxalate's 5G video, which led me to Fleur Brune. But YouTube just recommended it to me, I guess, because it, recognizes that I watch a lot of astrology and metaphysics, that type of content online. And yeah, I was just in the right place at the right time and caught Oxalate's first 5G video she took down the next day. And I watched like 2/3 of it, and I was so by everything that she was saying, and immediately learned that when she put up the second version and she referenced Fleur Brune's video, I went and watched that, and things just started clicking like so hard. Like I haven't had a paradigm shift like that since I think 20, and I went to my first like Vipassana meditation retreat, and I was doing a lot of meditation in my early 20s. But yeah, I haven't had just like such a massive shift in worldview in about a decade. So should I talk about the nail readings and the divination online?
Yes,
and
yes, definitely.
Should I get into that?
Yes, I want to.
Now, or?
Yeah, I want you to share that
Okay.
at the beginning, and then we can kind of
All right,
segue
so,
into the topic.
Yeah, definitely. So, I do hair and makeup. I also am into magic and metaphysics, and I have a blog where I talk about all of those things. And I have, for my blog, I'm KiKi Babe Magic on all platforms. And I was on Twitter, I think just a few days after watching both of your 5G videos. And I just very spontaneously put out a tweet that I was interested in doing some nail readings for people, because I noticed a lot of people on the timeline were posting pictures of their broken nails, their broken acrylics, things like that. And I just thought maybe people would be interested if I offered like a palmistry analysis of what it means when different things happen to your different nails. And it took off like nothing I have experienced on Twitter in a long time. I have a really small Twitter platform. I started that week with like followers, and over the course of the last few weeks have gained like 300 followers, all who were interested in nail reading, which I just didn't even expect to hit like that.
Yeah.
So while I was doing all these nail readings, my intuition is mega charged doing these readings, and like doing readings back to back, like waking up in the morning and responding to as many people as I can. It occurs to me, some people are posting like their actual insides of their hands, and it just occurred to me how sensitive that information is. And meanwhile, I'm thinking about all the AI and 5G and how AI is manipulating people into basically just being very vulnerable online. It occurred to me to tweet like, hey, don't post pictures of your finger. And it just, that concept, I just saw it in a new light all of a sudden, and I realized that like AI is like promoting my tweet about nail readings because it hasn't really seen anything like this on Twitter.
Yeah.
At least that's not the way that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it was basically like boosting my thread and giving it more traction so that I could teach not just regular people more, not just people being interested, but AI, the algorithm, was interested as well.
I love that you said that, and
that was just like a new level of thought for me, and understanding how like the algorithm is basically pumping all of us like metaphysicians and mystics for information so that it can better understand us.
I love that you share this, because I want to kind of let everyone, what she's saying is that when she was tweeting and she started to read something that wasn't notably something popular or anyone really did, it was more unique to what you were doing, or you just found, what you found a different type of reading that wasn't notably something that the society or social media has ever heard of. Actually, AI has probably never even seen. So it was something unique. So it promoted you. It started to add you to the algorithm in order to not only just share you with others, but to learn your new craft in order to master its understanding and overstanding of this new type of awareness. So basically, it was utilizing you as a way to study you as something new that you created in order to, and it perpetuated itself in the media and allowed people to do it with you or to show you more, to learn more about how you did it and what it was you were doing.
Right.
I love this.
Right.
It's so
and
unique.
Just to be clear, like I didn't invent nail readings or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm bringing it to a population demographic that's interested in beauty, focused in the United States, because Indian astral palmistry talks a lot, very in depth about nail readings and medical nail readings and all of that. And I learned this, but I synthesized it for a new group of people, basically.
I love that. How unique and because again, I haven't heard, until you made me privy of it, I hadn't heard of nail readings before. You were the first I've ever heard that from. So it actually introduced that type of new type of reading to myself. And I'm sure a lot of people are here. What's that? What was that? Did you hear?
Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
Did you hear that?
Oh, there's a scooter.
Oh, okay. Okay, just making sure. I was like, wait a second, are we getting contact?
There's a scooter just drove by. I'm outside. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I think it's something unique, and I've never heard of it before, so I found it intriguing when you shared it with me. And then also your ability to discern what AI's connection to your becoming more popular on. Normally it would be the same people who are probably interested in it, but it made you bring it to a bigger demographics of people, more people. Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with why we see this rise of, for example, interest in astrology. All these mainstream news platforms talking about, like, why is astrology, having another wave of interest amongst millennials? There's like a number of articles right now about that topic. And I think social media has a really interesting part to play in, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think people should have access to different metaphysical and spiritual tools. I think there's definitely a positive angle on it, but I think we also just need to be aware of the fact it's not that simple. It's not as simple as like the people want the information and that's why it's getting out. I think there's also a technological exploitation of these very ancient forms of knowledge that are happening right now.
There's another there's another incentive to them, promoting things, propagandering things, and it's basically there's another agenda, an undertone of an agenda that also what seemingly could seem good to us, and it's absolutely great to expound our consciousness and lead us to higher forms of understanding about how our connection to the celestial bodies does affect how we show up in the world. I love it, but then at the same point, when we study ourselves, something else is always studying us as well. So as much as we learn about ourselves, other things have their own reason for knowing and expanding our consciousness just for their own diabolical, goals or their agendas.
Right. And, I think people are always looking for answers, and I think that's why these ancient mystical traditions are really spreading right now. This knowledge is spreading really quick. Thanks to social media. But I think there's also, a lot of people who, rather than using this information to empower themselves, are seeking an outside power to, allay insecurities or fears that have rightfully where we're headed as a species. There are corporate interests, and you could probably speak to non-human entity interests better than I can, that would seek to exploit those insecurities that we have, that leads us to seeking out this kind of information. And so I just want to have a conversation today around, not just, I'm really not interested in fear-mongering around technology. I love technology. I use the internet all the time. I think it's a wonderful tool. It leads to social change. And, we can form communities like this one that are more powerful, I firmly believe, than any corporate interest or anyone else that, out there that might try to be exploitative. So I definitely want to focus some of my time on air today on sharing tools that I personally use, information that has been really helpful for me, and just focus on keeping my messages empowering and grounded as possible.
Absolutely. Now, when I was reading your notes, I was in awe, and I don't really hide my feelings about anything, especially when it's something that, when I see that you've basically taken little pieces of information that's coming out in every different arena, and you were able to place it in a way that was so poignant and so relative with what's going on with 5G technology coming out and about, being the number one focus of conversation, especially in the galactic and metaphysical community. Also, you were able to field in the ideology of the whole concept of the event, the glitter event. And I just was in awe, just how you were able to bring different aspects of what you knew to be and bring a general consensus to what it may be, what it could possibly be. So I wanted you to kind of get into the whole glitter, the aspect of glitter, the aluminum, because really, what is glitter? And you kind of brought us back, because when you talked about it, you brought it back to what it really is. Because really, when we think of glitter, we're just thinking sparkles, beautiful, just illumination, this glitter event, it's so masterful. But when you brought it back, like you brought me back to old school, you were like, okay, Fleur Brune, I'm going to bring you back to where sprinkle sparkles came from. So it isn't so, beyond tangible. It's something else. It is an actual fiber that comes from metal. Can we kind of get into that aluminum connection that you were able to bring about?
Yeah, the glitter is deep. Glitter is really weird and really deep. I'm sure some of the people in this audience have seen the New York Times article that came out late December of last year, and I'm looking at the hyperlink to it now. It came out on December 21st, 1221, which is one of my favorite numbers. But it was this really weird article kind of tucked away in the style section, which is why I'm just really enjoying my vantage point of all of these experiences from being in the beauty industry, because beauty is like, people see it as being so shallow, but there's so many deeper implications of the beauty industry, and I think glitter is a perfect example. So help keep me on track here. There's a lot of information. I'm going to try to keep everything as cohesive and coherent as possible, but aluminum is made out of aluminum metallized polyethylene terephthalate, and it is an extremely, almost amusingly secretive industry. There's two companies that produce most of the glitter. One should not even consent to be named, and the other one is this company in Jersey called GlitterX. And this article talks about this one journalist's experience going to visit GlitterX headquarters, and it's really entertaining. They talk about why do we love glitter as a species? People love shiny things, and apparently the current prevailing theory is that researchers, psychologists think that we're attracted to water, and glitter represents water to our psyche.
Yeah, say that again, because I don't think anyone heard you. Say that one more time, because I thought that was really, really relative. Why people are so attracted to glitter.
Yeah, I'll just quote the article.
Yes.
Supported in part by a study that monitored babies' enthusiasm for licking plates with glossy finishes, that our attraction to sparkle is derived from an innate need to seek out fresh water.
Very interesting.
Now, I find that really interesting into this era where people are saying things about approaching water wars and running out of fresh water and our water being really polluted, that we simultaneously see this like prevalence of glitter. Something really interesting about glitter, it's a wartime invention. It was popularized during World War II because people were basically trying to keep their lights off at nighttime so that they weren't illuminating, I forget exactly how they phrased it, the Allied ships offshore, and they turned off like all the neon lights in Times Square, for example. And glitter was used in the windowsills in lieu of lighting, candles or lanterns. Really interesting.
Interesting. And what I find is interesting also, if I can kind of insert a little thing, because World War II, we also know that in the ET community,
Hello?
Can you hear me? What's that?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yeah.
There's some weird things going on. Wait.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh,
can
man.
you hear me? Can you hear me? Because there's something weird going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There's something. There's some weird. I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of. Okay, I know I'm seeing something weird inside, and there's some weirdness going on here. So I'm gonna try to keep focus right now because there's something going on, a little paranormal going on in the room right now. But I'm gonna ignore it because I want to get this out because I think sometimes it's relative to me sharing something. In World War II, we do know that the Nazis had interaction with the ET group. An ET group, which I know were time travelers. They weren't necessarily ETs, they were interdimensional time travelers. Now, what's interesting is you saying that this glitter showed up in World War II. And this was a time where there was a lot...
Just before World War II.
Just before World War II. And this is a time when we started to see, reverse engineer ships and crafts. The Nazis having a fascination with eugenics at this point. We also start to see, them working and doing things with time travel. I think everything's interrelated, and it's interesting that we're bringing in the concept that you're bringing up that sparkles, which we're starting to see remnants now in 2019, is starting to show up as a paranormal type of phenomenon, but it may be relative to that showing up on the scene during a time where ETs were interacting with, well, not ETs, interdimensional travelers were interacting with the Nazis. But I just wanted to add that in there as you go on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to get right to the point, but I think glitter is being used as a surveillance tool. It actually says right in the article, and I think you mentioned in one of your streams from a few days ago, like, everything is just hidden in plain sight, Like, it says in this article, researchers and zookeepers sometimes mix glitter with animal feed to track animals like polar bears, elephants, and domestic cats via sparkly feces. Because glitter is difficult to remove completely from an area into which it has been introduced, and because individual varieties can be distinguished under a microscope, it can serve as useful crime scene evidence. Years ago, the FBI contacted GlitterX to catalog samples of its products. And it's everywhere, and you can't get it out. If you get glitter in your house, it's just there forever.
Absolutely. And what's interesting about you sharing that as well is it brought me to this type of residue, which I don't want to fast forward, but I got to add this in now because it's relative to what you're saying now, because it's going to be relative to our conversation later, is that it's interesting that you said they were utilizing the glitter and putting it in the animals to go in the stool so they can track them. But would it be so far-fetched that perhaps there are groups that are adding this glittering or the chemtrails with the fibers coming down along with the food? They could be putting it in the food supply or things. Well, you're going to go into that. So I just want to add that because it's going to sidebar into what you're going to talk about a little further in our conversation. Okay? In order to track.
Yep.
It's used to track animals.
Yeah. And so I think the most interesting part of this New York Times article is this one excerpt of conversation where she's talking to someone that works at GlitterX, and I'm just going to read it because it's really funny. Yeah. When I asked Ms. Dyer if she could tell me which industry served as GlitterX's biggest market, her answer was instant. No, I absolutely know that I can't. I was taken aback. But you know what it is? Oh, God, yes, she said and laughed. And you would never guess it. Let's just leave it at that. I asked if she could tell me why she couldn't tell me, because they don't want anyone to know that it's. If I looked at it, I wouldn't know it was glitter. No, not really. Would I be able to see the glitter? Oh, you'd be able to see something, but it's, yeah, I can't.
Wow, really? So you can't even.
You can kind of tell that it's there, but you can't tell that it's glitter. What could it be?
What else could it be? Could it be some? First of all, when you that alone in itself is so curious. Like, why couldn't she speak about it as if it's something ominous? Like, what is it about? The glitter, and you can't identify it because
exactly. Like, why wouldn't? Right. So I have some theories. I think it might be cash. I think it might be soda. Like, Coca-Cola is notoriously secretive. They have a very, it's a carbonated beverage. It's very attractive. The carbonation and the sparkle is always part of its branding. I wouldn't be surprised, and so many people drink soda.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was being put into beverages that are addictive so that people can be tracked. And the aluminum thing ties into the whole. I really don't know that much about chemtrails, so I'll have to have you explain all of that. But the aluminum, I believe, is one of the, along with barium,
yes,
one of the minerals in chemtrails, right?
Absolutely. And
yeah,
what happens?
So I don't know.
And what happens is that when the aluminum and barium and a host of other chemicals and metals, there are others that sometimes are identifiable and others identifiable and some others that aren't. They come down on your skin as nanofibers. They go underneath the surface of your skin, and the blue field over your phone helps to replicate nanotubes, which inevitably create nanotechnology that allows for more susceptibility to mind control. That's why you cover your phones, the blue field over your phone. So it's interesting that we have this glittering kind of event coming upon us, but also there's all these agendas coming out with the celery juice drinking. We can get into that a little later. We have that phenomenon that happened preamp to this whole glitter event. Also, you have the vegan push, which has been for the last 5 to 6 years now, which is quite abnormal because you already know there isn't anything that the governmental or corporate industries that ever pushes on you that's good for you unless it benefits them to the highest and greatest degree. So,
basically, I mean, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, and I don't remember who the third, but all these billionaires are investing tons of money into vegan burgers right now.
Can you say their names
which
again?
Which I find super interesting.
Can you say their names again who are investing in vegan burgers?
Jeff Bezos, the heads of Amazon, Virgin, and Microsoft.
Okay. So
all these billionaire CEOs are investing money right now into vegan burgers.
Okay. Is everyone listening to this? We have billionaires and tech billionaires investing in vegan burgers. So that tells you that there is an agenda. What it is, we're probably unraveling it with this conversation and future conversations. But why would they be so intrigued into pumping their money and advertising something? Thank you, Steph. That advertising something connected to that, and Amazon, which now Monsanto took over, is laying in bed with Whole Foods, and now Amazon is connected to Whole Foods now. So right. So everything is basically interrelated, and once one hand is dirty, everything is dirty it touches.
So just to get back into the aluminum, I want to share some information about what aluminum does, because it's going to become relevant later in the conversation when we get into talking about sparkles and crystals. And I mean sparkles like distinctly from the glitter, which didn't you mention in a couple videos ago that you think that glitter in makeup might be increasingly popular because then people won't realize that there are sparkles appearing for no reason as well?
Absolutely. And on Cypher, big up to the Cypher crew who's in the house. The Cypher's been going bananas and bonkers right now. Skittles, a couple of the other sea stars have been posting videos of all these advertisements of like random people throwing sparkles in the sky, like a man throwing sparkles in the air for no reason, saying that your stretch marks can be like sparkles, making your stretch marks glow like sparkles. All these odd advertisements promoting sparkles in random ways that have nothing to do with children or art or, you know, makeup. These are just random propaganda videos showing sparkles all over the place. Why would they be doing that unless they were trying to cover up something that was going to show up that they knew?
All right. Yeah, exactly. So aluminum, and it's so funny because, like, this stuff definitely gets into our bodies, you know, from the outside in, and it's just not good for you. It's connected to brain and bone disease. It's connected to, you know, there's kind of a tenuous link to Alzheimer's. It affects the memory. It affects the nervous system. And I'm bringing this up in relation to affecting bone health because bones are going to become a part of the conversation later when we talk about crystals, because bones are a crystalline structure.
Woo! Oh, wait. You're going to shock them. You're going to shock them, KiKi. You're going. It's deep because.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear. Like, I am very aware that I'm not a scientist. I am here to make friends. I'm here to make friends and share ideas, and I would love to be corrected if people have, you know, more accurate information about anything that I'm sharing. Like, I'm so open, and especially around the more morbid stuff, I would love to be proven wrong. So I just want to put that out there. Like, I'm not incredibly attached to my theories. I'm just telling you what I'm working with right now.
Absolutely, and I feel it's in sync with. As soon as I was reading your notes, I mean, I was literally in awe because everything that you were basically bringing to light was coinciding with the list. You know how you have certain pieces of a puzzle, but you're missing a whole lot of parts, and you don't know what they are because you can't possibly find it because you don't know what you're looking for. But then KiKi contacts me, and then she's putting all these major pieces in. I'm like, wait a second. Wait, KiKi, oh my gosh, that's a huge piece. That's like a whole globe right there you put in there. That's like a whole piece. Thank you, Witch Boy. Yeah. You're putting a whole bunch there. Hey. You know, so you're basically bringing in a lot of the, and I love that you come from the fashion industry because you see from a totally different peripheral, a different angle that normally not everyone's privy to. So that's what makes you so unique. It makes you so much more intriguing. And it actually gives more credence to the things you're sharing because you're not necessarily coming from a neck of the woods where people are focused purely on this. You're seeing it totally from a different room, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny that Oxalate came into her whole platform through the natural hair movement. You know, it's kind of related because we're going to talk about hair later, too.
Yes. So I want to
go back to the whole vegan agenda thing. I'm going to put another disclaimer out there. I do not care what anyone eats. I really, really don't. But I agree with you and Oxalate that, you know, there's a big difference between being conscious and being plant-based versus getting roped into an agenda for very powerful people with a very, very strong profit motive. So I just want to share everything that I'm about to share is not a condemnation of anyone's diet or anything like that. I'm just talking about my experience.
Absolutely.
So I've been interested in holistic health for a really long time. And I did my first sugar cleanse when I was like 19 because I was getting eczema head to toe, like my entire body covered in eczema.
Yeah.
And so I did this massive sugar cleanse where I basically only ate protein and vegetables for a month.
Yeah.
And it completely altered my consciousness, right? And it just set me on this whole new track of being very mindful of what I eat. And since then, I'm pretty sure I've tried like every dietary paradigm out there. Like I've been vegetarian, pescatarian. I'm sorry, what was that?
No, I laugh because it's the journey of like being here, right? Can you hear me? Can she hear me? Can you hear me? KiKi? KiKi?
Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I heard you say something about a journey.
I said I relate to your journey because it is the journey of many of us living right now on the planet with all these propaganda diets based on the fact that we're unwell and we're eating in the most unhealthy ways because they're basically creating foods that are nutricized, that are meant to hamper your system and hinder it. And until we become self-aware and trial and tribulation with different diets, that's the only way that we kind of overcome it. So I love that you've done this, and you've basically worked yourself through the consciousness of, nutrition.
Yeah. So I've explored a lot, gluten-free, the specific carb diet, paleo. I was doing keto early last year, and, I was doing a lot of coconut products, and I started breaking out in hives.
Oh, gosh,
and
yes.
I literally woke up in the middle of the night.
Yes, coconuts, please. Yes, talk about that.
Okay.
Yes, coconuts has been breaking me out as well. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I love coconut, but it definitely was making me break out in hives. Something about the keto diet, and I was going into ketosis, and it was causing all these weird skin reactions. So I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was just looking for answers. I was like, coconut, saturated fat, what's going on? And I came upon, and I feel like I need to put a trigger warning on this.
Yes.
I came upon the carnivore diet. And I have to tell you, I was very repulsed reading about it, because I do come from this background of wanting to be plant-based, wanting to eat whole foods, and I care about animal welfare, and I care about factory farming and all these issues.
Absolutely.
And here I come upon this whole group of people who are basically only eating red meat and healing all kinds of chronic diseases. And many of the issues that I resonated with, I've been always, improving my mental health, dealing with depression and anxiety, especially in my early 20s and teen years. And, mostly mental health and reproductive health issues.
Well,
pain, chronic pain and tension.
Well, I will state this, is that coming from the vegan, vegetarian community for almost 30 years, over 30 years, I can say that now. I'm proud of that, because I've lived this life where, all we had access to was fruit and everything you could, just basic things, rice, milk at the time, if you were lucky, things like that were really unhealthy, just eating things like that. But what's interesting that you state is because I'm exposed to people from a high socio-economical background. And what I notice amongst the wealthy, there isn't much vegetarianism or veganism going on with the wealthy. Not at all. When you go to a lot of these Bilderberg parties or these industry parties, there isn't a promotion. They may be promoting it to the masses, but they're not living that life. They're eating red meat, very rare a lot of times. They're engaged in eating, things like lamb, beef, of course, high-end beef that they raise one cow and they're eating from that one cow. A lot of people have steak steak coming from their own ranches where they raise their own food source. A lot of them are doing this, and they aren't falling in that trend. So you have to say, if the wealthy, who supposedly have more access to intel and information, why aren't they falling into alignment with the vegan propaganda? Why aren't they falling into line with that if it's supposedly so great?
Yeah, it's a really important question right now.
It's disturbing.
So, I decided to try the carnivore diet just because, I know I've tried enough things to know when my body is telling me to do something.
Excuse me.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I just, as soon as I learned about it, I had this craving to try it. And so for about 6 months, I only ate animal products. And I healed everything that there was to heal, and even problems I wasn't even aware I was having. I didn't realize that it's not normal to, and I'm not talking about body size or shape or anything like that, but I did not realize that it wasn't normal for my stomach, my digestive system, to constantly be slightly distended, even though I'm a very small person, and uncomfortable pretty much after every single meal that I was eating, of these very fiber-rich, complex diets, if I could have a salad with 15 different types of fruits and vegetables, that's a very normal thing for me to eat. And it was really causing a lot of havoc in my digestive tract that I didn't realize until I started eating only animal products. And it was just very, very nutrient-dense foods that are very, very easy to digest. For me personally, again, I'm not telling anyone to go out and do this. I'm just saying that it had very profound effects on my body. And one of those things that started happening within, I want to say, 2 or 3 months, of the carnivore diet is my skin started to sparkle. Like, I mean, literally, I thought I had glitter on me all the time until I realized that my boyfriend also was having sparkles all over him. And it wasn't glitter, it wasn't makeup. It was like, we would go to the beach and swim all day and come out and there's sparkles on us.
Interesting.
Like,
yes.
Very clearly just coming out from my body. And so I started researching that. And it turns out it's a thing that a lot of people, or I don't know if it's a lot, but there's definitely a group of people online talking about this phenomenon called oxalate dumping.
Yes.
Have you heard of this before?
I have.
Oxalate dumping?
Yes, and sometimes it happens.
What context did you hear about it in?
Now, I heard about it years ago when Dr. Sebi was talking about a certain list of foods to avoid and avoid and to eat. And he was talking about oxalates. It's the first time I ever heard that before in my life, and I came from the research field. So when I started to research, I saw that there were things that had a high amount of it, or after a while, sometimes our bodies would just disperse of it, and it would show up. It didn't say sparkles, but it would show up. You would get certain glistening, or your skin would dump it into your skin, on the outside of your skin, if you had too much of it, or if you weren't processing certain foods, or we actually created ourselves. And depending on some people who are unable to digest it, I think they also get like if it binds with calcium, that's where you get like what is it, stones, gold stones, and things like that. Dr. Sebi was the first person who I ever heard talked about it, and a few other naturopathic doctors and homeopathic doctors were talking about be careful of eating certain fruits and vegetables that might have an effect on you, and having this over, what is it called, what's the pronunciation, oxalizing component. Now, you heard about it, you only heard about it when you were doing research. Had you heard about it before?
No, I had never heard about it. I didn't know it was a thing that could happen until, I looked down, and for weeks at a time I would have these sparkles. And I also noticed that it correlated with when I was eating foods that I later found out are high in oxalates, like dark chocolate. I was doing a lot of raw dark chocolate. That was like my cheat food when I was doing my peak carnivore diet. And it would cause aches and pains. And oxalates are literally these crystals that are very present in a lot of plants and fruits, seeds and nuts especially.
Nuts and seeds,
and
that's a big thing.
They basically get into your bloodstream if you have a compromised digestive system. And they basically just tear up your cells. They're like they're one of the causes of inflammation in the body.
Extended belly.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yes, and one of the, I won't say any names, but Nature Nut, who had a little boy who was staying in Costa Rica with him. This is one of the people that was, promoting veganism. His son was staying somewhere with him, and he had an extended belly. Now, I don't want to get too much into the personal information, but come to find out, the little one had to do surgery, and I don't know if it had. I can only presume it had to do with too much of certain fruit that were high in this, that were causing inflammation and also getting stuck. And I personally think it was because he was too young, and that's why my children are flexitarians, that I chose not to put them on vegan or vegetarian diets, because I do realize that the way that their bodies are set up isn't necessarily in harmony with, especially the way that fruits and vegetables are grown dense in very non-harmonic soil right now. So to rear a child, a little one, they might have issues. And I love that you brought this up, because most people don't know about that. And it wasn't until you brought it up again that it became relative, because I forgot about it. I just forgot. And I would beg to differ. And I would actually say we should I bet you if we research the celery juice, we might find something to do with the celery juice, and then maybe having a lot of that in there. Or causing.
Yeah, that would definitely be a really interesting line of inquiry.
Yes. So,
one of the main foods that has a lot of oxalates is spinach. And when you know that feeling in your mouth that you get when you eat raw spinach, with like that almost waxy feeling?
Yeah.
That's because spinach is very, very high in oxalates. And that's one of the reasons that you cook it, so you can help break down those oxalates a little bit.
That's right. It's much more digestible.
So I started having basically oxalate dumping. My body was detoxing all these oxalates. They get stored in the bones, especially. They can get anywhere in your body, but they definitely lodge in the bones. And so my body was detoxing all these oxalates because, just like with any elimination diet, pretty much the first few months, like you're just your body is doing all this housekeeping that it can't do when it's focused on digesting 50 million things that we feed it under like a omnivorous standard American diet. I was detoxing heavily, and I was writing about it on Twitter, on one of my personal Twitter accounts. I was talking a lot about oxalates and my diet, carnivore diet. It's also called the zero carb diet. I was like tracking my results, posting videos of my skin sparkling, and I went onto my Twitter 2 days ago to try to recover that information so I could share it with you today. All of my tweets have disappeared. Every single one that I've posted about anything about my diet, all of them are gone, which is very, very perplexing to me because I know I didn't delete them.
No, they did it because they knew you were coming on the show today, and they did not want you using any of those references to talk about with the family today. They didn't want you to, and I think that's, but all they do is also bring more light to the relevancy of what you were sharing. Whatever you were sharing was relative. So whenever they do things like that, they have to realize that people are very well aware that if it isn't important and if it isn't scary to them, or if it isn't relative, they wouldn't have deleted it. And she's not saying family. For those who are, I know people get, the vegan community, because how there's a vegan Nazism, because, the only people that they won't come from is me, because I'm 30 years plus in that life. So for those who have issues with the share, it's not about judging you. It's stating things that are relative to perhaps helping your health. And you have to take it into consideration. There's a big push, a vegan, and I've been talking about this as someone from that community. I've been talking about this push for the last 3 years. It isn't natural. I've been about that life before many of you even knew what veganism was. And it's unnatural for them to make you jump from eating meat to jumping to veganism. Normally there's a natural progression going from meat eating to pescatarianism to more flexitarianism, going into vegetarianism for years, and then slightly dipping over into veganism. They jumped many of you from eating like pork chops over to eating like cauliflower sandwiches. There's a big issue with such a jump and a leap into a direction that you're unaware of, and you're not even sure that your body and your genetics are even compatible to beings that can eat that way. There aren't many people who can be vegan, and that's a fact. There isn't any tribes that you can notably state to this day that were purely vegan. There were people that were more fruitarian based, with some fish that they added in every once in a while. Sometimes they hunted once a month, and maybe it wasn't as much. No, because she's out. No, she's fine. She's outdoors. That's all. Are you okay, KiKi?
You were breaking up there at the end.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. So just for those who get really sensitive, the vegan vegan Nazis go crazy, like, what is she saying? No, it isn't about that, because remember, most people who actually get into veganism for proper reasons is because they're compassionate for the animals that are being farmed, that are being reared and mistreated. So if you're actually a real vegan, a vegan who's doing it for the compassion of the animals, that's actually a much more reasonable reason to be that way or to engage in that lifestyle, rather than following a trend because Beyonce says she's eating 12 spinach sandwiches a day and she's actually having fried chicken from Popeyes. I'm not dissing her, but I'm just saying most likely that's the case.
Oh man, don't incite the Bayhive into this.
I'm sorry, Beyonce. You know.
I love Beyonce. I love Beyonce with my entire heart. I'm really not trying to get into it with fellow Beyonce fans.
Yes, no, she's a phenomenal artist.
But and I'm bringing up all the oxalates and the veganism and all that information very mysteriously disappearing from my Twitter feed because I am friends with a lot of vegan and vegetarian people. Like that is my community is like queer people of color who are into expanding consciousness and social justice and animal welfare. Like absolutely, like that's my social group, and I think that's actually part of why all of my tweets got disappeared and not because a lot of the carnivore diet, I'm just going to say it, is like middle-aged white men, and they are preaching kind of to the choir out in the Midwest, and I think it's just an easier audience to sell to, and just making vast generalizations here. I think a lot of the people who are in the carnivore realm tend to be more conservative and libertarian versus like, you know, my friend group, the people that I might influence with my experience and positive results tend to be more on the left, so to speak. Like, I think my personal politics are kind of off of any kind of known spectrum. But my friend group, I would definitely categorize as being more liberal.
Absolutely.
And so I think it would actually be really harmful if I started being way more open about what is working for me personally, because I'm going to be influencing a group that tends to be more towards wanting to be plant-based.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
I agree, and I love that you brought in that. Usually in Middle America, they're very just, you know, meat and potato type of people, just generally. That's like most of our cattle ranches.
They're easy to turn.
Yeah, cattle ranches and everything.
Carnivore.
Yeah, cattle ranches, everything like that are usually in the Midwest, so it's a little different. And also, you know, conservative folks tend to just stay in the lines of tradition. You know, if they've eaten, you know, meat and potato for a generation, they'll generally stick to that. If it, and, you know, even sometimes to their own demise, but they usually stay to the same stringent values that they grew up with. And there isn't anything wrong with tradition. Sometimes it works in our favor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to definitely bring in some resources around like reconnecting with food traditions and the importance of understanding ancestry and where you come from and what works for your people historically later on in the conversation. But I wanted to make another point about, I just want to make it clear, like, you know, I still eat a lot of animal product-based diet, but I don't live full-time in the U.S. anymore. I do want to put it out there, like, factory farming is terrible, it's evil. Please be careful about where you get your animal products.
It is.
I'm really lucky I get to eat cows that are like way more wild than what you see going on in the United States, being like overbred and you know, genetic modified and all that.
They're abused.
So it's, you know, just know where your food comes from always.
Absolutely. And I say this, I say for all the meat eaters out here, I'm a fan of those meat eaters who come to me and say, Flurburn, I'm a meat eater, but I hunt. You know, I hunt, I fish. That's what I do, you know, or we go to a farm, and this is what some people, I kind of discussed this before, there are people who have no farms close by and they buy one cow and they choose to utilize that cow for their meat storage. And it's not 50 million cows or 50 million chickens mixed in one package, and you wonder why people's brains are schizophrenic, because it's too many different types of consciousness of different beings meshed together who've experienced a lot of trauma and pain. Animals experience pain, they experience sadness, they experience the plethora of things that you would experience if you were in the same scenario. So being very conscious about if you're going to engage in eating flesh, then just be mindful of where you get it, and also be conscientious that the life was taken, and it may have not been by their choice. So I'm just saying, just be mindful. If you're going to engage in eating meat, do it consciously. I always gave you a list of meats that you should probably engage with, especially if you have indigenous blood, with the buffalo meat, which is healthier, less chemicalized. They tend not to put steroids in buffalo or bison. You know, dealing with quail eggs as opposed to chicken eggs, buying brown eggs as opposed to white eggs, because the white eggs are genetically modified chickens that have the pink eyes that were created, homogenized. Also engaging in heirloom grains like spelt, teff, quinoa, kamut. Those are wonderful grains, ancient grains, if you engage. I don't do well with how do you do with grains, KiKi? I can't do grains anymore. Grains are out of my mix.
I can only do white rice.
You can? I can't.
I'm Asian. I'm just like white rice. I can't even do brown rice.
I'm done.
It just makes my stomach upset.
Everything.
And I know about soaking it and fermenting. I do all of that.
Yeah.
I've tried all of it. I think there's a reason all of Asia eats white rice. I don't know what it is.
I think there's something about that maybe, but really in itself, the patty farms, I don't think, I think natural, and I haven't really studied rice in itself. I know it's a starch and it doesn't do well by my body, but I know that I would assume that the rice patty patches, you know, they grow in water, they're actually white. I've never seen brown ones where brown rice comes from. So I don't know if there's something to that, or they stain it.
Well, it becomes white. It's actually
aging process.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Isn't it an aging process where it kind of bleaches itself after time?
No, I mean, it's definitely like the husks, the brown husks are removed. It gets dried and like shaken off, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Which is part of why I think there's like a health benefit to eating white rice versus brown rice, because it's actually more work to create white rice. Like, why would a billion people, form their entire diet around white rice when it's actually harder to make? I don't know. I don't know all that much about it. But I wanted to bring in two tangents, and then it's so funny that we're both triple Sagittarius. So we're trying to like
She's a triple
stay
Sag.
on one topic.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
No. Triple Sag is in the house,
Like,
so we got 6 of us
so
over
much
here.
Sagittarius. We're having a bonfire.
We'd have a ball. It'd be burning everywhere.
Amazing. So speaking of traditional diets and understanding what your people ate and why, have you heard of Dr. Weston Price?
Yes. Yes.
So he traveled the world studying traditional diets. He visited with many different indigenous groups. He visited with like mountain people in the Swiss Alps, and he just kept track of what everyone was eating and what happened to their teeth. And basically across the board, as soon as people come in contact with industrialized white man's food, which is how he puts it in his book, within one generation, the children are born with deformed teeth, crowded palates, tooth decay. All of this stuff happens as soon as people come in contact with basically the mainstream diet.
Absolutely.
And this book is really a gem. You can find it for free as a PDF. It's called Nutrition and Degenerative Health.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I looked at his research, and it's profound. The information, like he found people in the most remote areas in Asia, and their teeth were so strong and even close into their 60s and 70s, their teeth were fine, strong, hard, and very well. Their jaw was well shaped. It wasn't misshapen, which was interesting because I never knew that. Even with certain nutrition, it kind of messes with the way that your palate shows up in the womb, how it's shaped. Yeah, interesting.
Yep. Like anyone that's ever had braces, knows that struggle of like trying to get all of your teeth to fit into your mouth. That's not normal.
That isn't.
And it's not genetic either, and that's part of what this book talks about. But anyways, I want to get more into that end of it a little bit later because we have to talk about crystals.
Please do.
But the other tangent I wanted to bring up is about rice. I just want your entire audience to know about rice water. Is everyone using fermented rice water on their hair? We're going to talk about hair as antennas as well, and how that is another amazing aspect of your vessel to invest in right now. But rice is very, very high in nutrients, which I didn't realize until mid-December when I started experimenting with using fermented rice water on my hair. And my hair has grown so fast, like twice its usual speed, and much thicker, much denser. And my boyfriend, who has no pattern baldness, he's showing hair regrowth in areas that haven't seen hair in years. Yes. This stuff is really phenomenal.
I've heard of that. I've heard that rice water.
Do you use it too?
No, I don't, because I have a I'm an anti-rice person. Just me. It's just my mother gave us too much rice, so I have issues with rice mentally and psychologically. So even if it was something that it's something psychological with me. It's not even anything relative, but I haven't used it. But I know I have people that I've known personally who use rice. They don't use the white rice. They do use the brown rice, and they rinse it. They utilize it on their head. I'm just, but the arsenic, but there's a little traces of arsenic. Now, do you use it every day as like a rinse, or just once a week, or what do you use it? How do you use it?
I use it about 3 times a week.
Okay.
I ferment it for 24 hours, and I pour it on my head like 3 times a week. Okay. But people see results with using it just once a week as well.
Okay, they do it once a week. Okay, and
but I don't really know about the arsenic. I'm living in like an island in Indonesia.
Yes.
And
Bali. Yes. I'm sorry.
It's grown right in the backyard, basically.
Isn't that awesome? How do you feel about that? How does it make you feel to actually? The wonderful thing about farming or seeing where your food comes from, how does that make you feel to be able to purchase something that you can see right then and there? That
grounded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it, and it makes me feel very. Because I grew up partially in Japan, and my family is from a rural, very very tiny village in Japan, and we were surrounded by rice paddies, so it's a very grounding food for me personally. Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference to know literally exactly where your food comes from. Like if you're in the States, if you have access to like a local butcher, that is such a gem. That's such a resource. Like, anyways. Yes. Should we talk about crystals?
Yes, but I wanted you to to segue into crystals. I wanted you to go back into aluminum because when we ended in aluminum, we were talking about aluminum showing up, what it actually was, but also the fact of the matter is that a lot of people use aluminum in everything. It's not just coming from the sky. Aluminum pots, aluminum foil, aluminum tin cans that you cook with. I will say this: when you gave me this, I remember I was just pregnant, and I was utilizing regular. I don't have anything but metal. I don't use anything. I didn't have anything that was with the Teflon. I forgot the non-stick thing. I stopped using those years ago. But I found when I was pregnant, I had an aversion to all of the metal pots, all of them, every last one of them. Then I had an aversion to all the metal forks and spoons and knives. Everything that was metal, I could not drink or eat from. So I bought all glassware and clayware, stoneware, and I felt better. But what's interesting when you were bringing up the aluminum, because I stopped using aluminum foil years ago, when I felt like it was a bioproduct and I felt like it was leaching in the food, and I could taste aluminum on stuff years ago, like if someone wrapped their food in aluminum, I could taste it. So when you brought this to my awareness, this aluminum conversation and the glittering effect, it really held true. It really held strongly, and it was it's almost like you gave me a ding, ding, ding moment, that there was some sort of connection to the aluminum also that we're being exposed to all over the place. And you were getting into...
it's really everywhere, and I'm trying to... Go ahead.
And you were getting into... I'm going into your notes. I want to make sure we touched on everything. You're talking about what happens when people consume too much aluminum. You touched on that. Researchers. Okay. No. I think we're good. I think you touched on everything. I'm just backtracking a little bit. Okay, we can kind of segue into the crystals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I was worried that these notes were just going to be like doing way too much, but I'm really glad that
I love it.
we're able to like both reference the same information.
You knew I was a Sagittarius, so you already knew I needed a reference point because I would be all over the place. So I love that you're a Sag, and I love that you're a triple Sag because you knew what kind of Sag you were dealing with. I love it. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Yep. My partner's a triple Sag too.
What?
I hope we can all have dinner someday.
Oh my gosh, we'll be like...
That would be fun.
We'll probably change the whole world. We'll do like a paradigm shift. We might be like Dr. Strange times 3. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. How did you I want to know how you met your triple Sag. Anyway, let me stop. Go ahead. I don't want to divert the conversation. Wow. I'm really in admiration.
Yeah. You're what?
I'm in admiration. I'm in awe. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go right into the
Oh, I'm in awe of you. This is great.
It's all reflection.
So we covered glitter. We covered the biological sparkles, and now we're talking about crystals.
Yes.
Crystals are a little bit in terms of like me connecting a lot of dots. They're not super connected yet with sparkles and glitter. I'm not exactly sure how those two fit together, except that crystals are now being introduced into makeup. I don't know if you've seen that there's makeup companies now, like grinding crystals up and putting it into the makeup itself.
Yeah.
There's this one San Francisco brand called Ether, I think. They're putting crystals directly into makeup. That's an interesting connection.
The company.
I was trying to get right in.
The company's called Ether? Excuse me.
Ether, like AETHER.
That's interesting that it's called Ether, because that's where we all interlay in the higher realms. We're all meeting in Ether. That's interesting that they would name it that, and they're grinding up crystals and putting the crystals. Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, I love crystals. I think crystals are beautiful. I don't personally resonate with them very much. I know you're supposed to clear them and program them, but they break when they're around me. Like sometimes I'll just like put a ring on and it will break on my hand, like while I'm not doing anything. I really like shells personally, but I'm very intrigued by crystals. I'm very intrigued by why all my friends are intrigued with crystals and why it's like taken over, social media. So I'm just gonna share some interesting things that I found in my crystal research. If you follow me on Twitter, KiKi Babe Magic, I have a crystal conspiracy thread that a lot of the stuff that I'm about to share is all linked in that thread. If you guys want to look into that later and do some research with me.
Can you put?
So there's been a 40% increase in searches for crystal healing in the last 4 years. Did you say something?
I wanted you to add your link again because I think they kind of missed it. Can you just say where you are on Twitter again?
On Twitter and Instagram, I'm KiKi Babe Magic.
Okay.
Okay, so I've been doing all this, just reading like mainstream news articles about crystals, and there's this one article in Fast Company, and this person is all these like super wealthy crystal, these crystal people, crystal healers that cater to wealthy people. It's a really interesting article. And this one person says, when there are dips in the financial market, we sell out of our money magnets bracelets, says Jandro, referring to the $88 accessory that promises to bring wealth into one's life. She says business increases when consumers are anxious about the news. I find that really interesting that she has better sales of crystals during economic dips, because isn't it like the sex and the drug industries also rise whenever there's a recession?
Absolutely.
Isn't that like an economics rule of thumb?
Yeah.
So crystals also fit into that paradigm, which is weird. Just as a fun fact that might be useful later, the world's top crystal regions right now are Brazil, China, and Colombia. And when I say crystals, I'm talking about the pretty collectible crystals. There's also like, kind of boring crystalline minerals that are used for technology, and I'm going to talk about that too. But the world's top crystal regions that are selling like the collectible kinds are Brazil, China, and Colombia. I think we just need to get right into cobalt. So, I've been hearing about cobalt in technology for a while now. It's only been in the last year or so that I've really started to understand like the implications. Like when I first started reading an article in Vice, that just like it threw me into a depression, thinking about how this mineral cobalt is coming out of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it's being mined by children.
It is. It's horrific. It's one of the most horrific things.
It's really, and so the cobalt mining, one of the byproducts of cobalt mining are the collectible crystals like tourmaline, amethyst, citrine, blue, and smoky quartz, are just a few that I was able to find. So those are byproducts of the cobalt industry. It's very interesting that like the pretty collectible ones are a byproduct of mining for cobalt, which is used for technology. It's used in the microprocessors in all of our cell phones and laptops.
Yeah.
Babies are being, so it's children mining, but it's also women, adult women are doing the processing of the minerals, and they're giving birth to babies with birth defects, which, I haven't found information on what exactly about the mining is causing birth defects, but something's not right. And the U.S. has a very problematic relationship with the cobalt mining industry. So the U.S. passed a law requiring American companies to source 4 specific minerals, tin, copper, tungsten, and gold, from Congolese mines that are free from militia control. While this is seen as an attempt to prevent human rights abuses, cobalt has never been added to the list. Why is one of the main minerals not being regulated? And it's because if they actually regulated it, the tech companies believe that it would make things, it would cut into their profit margins, basically.
Of course.
Is what's going on. So we have this entire, world-changing technology being created off of the backs of babies and children in the Congo.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that before I talk about quartz.
Cobalt mining has been an issue for the last 15 years. Since the big boom of the cell phones, especially with the iPhone, there hasn't been any corporate accountability for the amount of children that have been affected in families, and it's a way bigger number. They're showing a very nominal number, a very passive number right now. It is higher than that. We've seen children that are, like you said, highly deformed. Also with the cobalt, from what I know in the ET community, there is some link to cobalt. Like, I don't know if you saw Wakanda. Wakanda had the concept that there was this alien component that fell into the earth, and the people of Wakanda utilized the technology, and not only did it expound their consciousness, but it allowed them with technology that superseded all the other neighboring, surrounding neighboring regions. Now, it's the same concept with cobalt.
Right. Oh man, I need to watch Black Panther again.
Yeah. Cobalt in itself has been linked to being connected to a material that is otherworldly, that it isn't necessarily from here, and that's why it's only found in remote areas in Africa, especially in the Congo, which is very rich in uranium, and also we have to take in consideration the crystals that are around it are highly absorbent crystals that are meant to absorb energy, and I think you go into that later. And the fact that it absorbs energy, I think that those crystals surround cobalt, because if they didn't and cobalt went on like a free radical, it will cause like what we're seeing now with mental issues and a high amount of EMF waves coming from this small amount of technology that we don't give as much credence and credibility to. That's just my opinion. I think, just like if you take vitamins in your body, like, one thing I say with cobalt is like this, with the tourmaline that's around it, also I think it's, what do you say, tourmaline? It's, what's the other one? The yellow.
Tourmaline, amethyst, citrine, and quartz.
Citrine and quartz. So if we take those all together, it's just like what I liken to be like, when you take a vitamin and you just take one vitamin. Now, people say, okay, you take a vitamin, how come I'm not absorbing it? Because that vitamin requires, okay, so if I'm taking calcium requires magnesium in order to process or to field it in. Also, vitamin C helps to help that process. I liken it with the crystals surrounding the cobalt. I think they were able to keep the cobalt wasn't causing as many free radicals when it was surrounded by those crystals. As soon as you take it out of that isolatory, everything's relative. Everything is around each other for a reason. It isn't just like cobalt grows individually without these other crystals surrounding it. It's growing there, but it has its own muters around it, or things that are absorbing. So the tourmaline is feeding off of the cobalt. The citron is feeding off the cobalt. The quartz is feeding. It's pulling from it. So they're all interacting with one another. Take the one component out and separate it. It's going to cause all kinds of craziness. That's what I think is happening with the technology, with cobalt being extracted and put in cell phones without people knowingly knowing that it has a really, thank you, imperfect student, that it has a free radical effect on people's consciousness, on their biosphere, and everything else. It's just my opinion.
Wow, that makes so much sense.
And I couldn't have gotten all that together until you sent me the article, because I knew about the cobalt, but you gave me all the goodies that went along with it, so then I could actually pull everything together. I said, okay, they're all utilizing each other. They need to be together in some way, but they're not being utilized together. They're being isolated, taken, extracted, and used isolatory, and everybody's getting affected by the technology differently because they're not, unless some of us, that's why some of us maybe are geared towards wearing black tourmaline. You notice that as a muter. Maybe there's a subconscious way that we consciously know that we're supposed to put other crystals around us in order to absorb the shock energy of the cobalt. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so I just think it's extremely tragic that we have these very addictive technologies, like social media that gives you that serotonin hit. You have these very addictive technologies that are rooted in, very conflict-ridden mining and just absolutely tragic stuff going on. Like, if you're very sensitive and you go down this wormhole, if you haven't already, I just need you to know that the imagery it's really sad if you're very sensitive, like myself.
Yes.
But I think it's really important to know. And so I'm questioning, are all of these collectible crystals is one of the reasons that social media promotes, for example, highly curated images of people with their crystal grids or crystals on their altar. It's one of the reasons so that to increase the demand for crystals and the demand for technology to continue to justify exploiting these babies in the Congo. Is one of my questions.
Interesting.
I'm going to take a little detour and talk about quartz, the history of quartz use in the United States, to kind of lay a groundwork for some of the questions I'm going to ask later. Yes. So quartz became, the quartz industry basically came about during World War II when the United States military started soliciting hobbyists who were into radio and ham radio, their own units out of quartz crystal. They started soliciting civilians to donate their crystal units from their at-home projects, basically, so that it could be used by the military during the war. There was actually an entire communications division called the Quartz Crystal Section, and the very first task of the Quartz Crystal Section was to publicize, I'm going to read here, was to publicize the need for quartz crystal units. This was done so successfully that many letters were received from patriotic citizens offering to donate the crystal sets, which had reached addicts. There was a letter to an editor for a newspaper at the time from a professor, Gerald James Holton at Harvard, who wrote, "No less significant will be the fruit of these advancements to a new world at peace, where crystals will be the vibrating hearts of most telecommunication equipment." Okay. And then Major General Roger B. Colton in 1944 said, "The Army had radio before they had crystals. Now the Army has communications. That's the difference. Crystals gave us communications." So this is World War II, quartz crystals being a major focus for the United States military in advancing their communications technology.
I love that you had shared this.
So,
yes.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to say I love that you shared this.
Oh, just loving it. Totally. So I find this really interesting because I didn't find this information in an article about the crystal trend or crystal industry today or anything like that. It was specifically like a very technical article talking about the history of the use of quartz in the United States military. And I just find that to be such an interesting precedent that this is one of the major periods in United States history of crystals being used. The first major period was in ham radio and the different forms of technology that were being used in the 40s. And then the next one, I believe, was TV. And then the next major use was what we see today as being used in microprocessors, which is the foundation of every single piece of electronics that we use, especially for communications. Quartz is used in this technology.
Absolutely. What's interesting also
to bring this to...
Oh, yes. Go ahead, love. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'm going to make another little mental leap here. And...
It just hung up on her. Oh, my gosh. Hold on. It just hung up on her. Hold on. Oh, wow. Interesting. Oh, wow. It just totally spaced out. Oh, it just hung up the whole phone. Hold on, family. Oh, the whole feed just jumped off. They can't stop, won't stop. I'm going to call back in. Hold on, family. She was getting a little too deep. Wow, this is interesting.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear...
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
KiKi, are you there?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, well, it knocked me. It actually hung up. It actually hung up the phone on me, not you.
They hung up?
Yeah, I can hear
Oh.
you. They hung up the phone on me, not
Okay.
you. Yeah, the show
Okay.
shut me off. I want you to continue.
Oh,
I want
okay.
you to continue exactly where you. I don't know if you know where you ended, but I want you to say you were going to segue. We were talking
Yeah, I
about. Do you remember where you ended?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This is why I made this list.
Yeah.
Okay, so most United States crystal shops get their gems at the Tucson Gem Show. You've heard of it, right?
Yeah.
The Tucson Gem Show in Arizona.
I was just talking to.
Yeah, like all of
someone
my
today about it.
like New Age hippie friends love to it's like a pilgrimage
Yeah.
to the Tucson Gem Show every year. So the vast majority of the crystal shops in the United States source all their crystals from the Tucson Gem Show, and it's wild. People fly in from all over the world with crystals mined from everywhere, and there's very little regulation about this. Like you can get like conflict jade from Burma at the Tucson Gem Show and sell it, and no one will bat an eye. So I find this location very interesting because Arizona is also, according to like the Arizona website, home to unmatched military and training facilities, as well as being a hotbed of UFO sightings, which I'm sure you have way more intel on in terms of Arizona's relationship to extraterrestrials.
Let me just
I
say,
just think it's an extremely interesting coincidence.
Yes. Big up to Gail, who I was talking to. You don't realize how relative. She was actually from Arizona. I was talking to her before we had this call tonight. It's very relative what you're bringing up. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, that's honestly like, as far as that specific point about Arizona goes, that's as much as I know right now. But I want to go on another little tangent. I'm going to tie it all together after I talk about. So this is a scientific topic. I am not an electrician or a technologist or anything. So if anyone has more information about how my conspiracy, hyperactive sci-fi mind uses information effectively, please let me know. But there's this technology called Piezoelectricity. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Piezoelectricity. It's P as in pineapple, I-E-Z-O, electricity. And so basically piezoelectricity is applying pressure to crystalline structures in order to generate an electric charge. Okay? And so naturally piezoelectric occurring materials include berlinite, which is structurally identical to quartz, cane sugar, something called Rochelle salt, topaz, tourmaline, and bone. Like animal bone.
Bone.
So these are all, So these are all materials that when you apply pressure to them, you're able to generate an electric charge that can then be harvested to use in electronics. Okay? There are also some human-made piezoelectric materials, which include PZT, which is made from lead zirconate titanate. Barium is a ceramic piezoelectric material discovered during World War II. Isn't barium the material in chemtrails?
Yes. Which helps also to pose up the holographic imagery. You can use barium to make a holograph. Wow.
Okay.
This is deep.
Wow. Yeah. So I was reading this one website about piezoelectricity, and they had this kind of whimsical paragraph shown in there that I'm just going to read to you. It says, if you can make a tiny bit of electricity by pressing on one piezoelectric crystal once, could you make a significant amount by pressing many crystals over and over again? What if we buried crystals under city streets and pavements to capture energy as cars and people pass by? This idea, which is known as energy harvesting, has caught many people's interest. Inventors have proposed all kinds of ideas for storing energy with hidden piezoelectric devices, from shoes that convert your walking movements into heat to keep your feet warm, cell phones that charge themselves from your body movements, to roads that power streetlights, contact lenses that capture energy when we blink, and even gadgets that make energy from the pressure of falling rain. And they go on to say that all of this stuff, the technology is still very inefficient, and that's why it's not being commonly used, as far as we know, by the mainstream, but it's still possible. Yeah. And I'm just throwing that out there because I think it's an interesting puzzle piece. I don't know how it fits in yet. It's very interesting.
It does fit because, again, another sea star was stating that she was going on highways. You don't know how relative the information you're sharing and how you came up with this wonderful, conscious. I personally think you're being totally fielding in the energy of the universe and bringing in intel that is so relative to the days we're living in. We have a girlfriend who goes on highways who clears the energy because she said they're pulling energy. You were the first person who followed up with that, stating that they could be using energetic grids underneath the highways, and she says she goes on the highway on different roads and clears the energy because she knows that they're utilizing the energy for negative reasons. They're harnessing it with the rubber tires, and then we get into rubber, which is it feels in electricity, and it's a catalyst. So we take that, and you bring in bones or different types of crystals. We're going into a whole lot of energy that's being fielded. Who's eating that energy? Where is that energy going to? Crystallizing it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Interesting.
Ooh, getting chills.
Interesting.
Just as a fun fact, so there's wireless charging. It's like a thing now where you can set your device down on this object and it'll just charge it without any cord.
Yeah.
I find it very amusing that the gold standard of wireless charging technology at a company is called Qi Wireless.
Wow.
Like QI. Qi as in energy.
Wow.
Speaking of energy harvesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a couple theories. My current working theory is that the U.S. military may somehow be benefiting from civilian crystal collections for experimental communications programs, including but not limited to communications with ETs, or vice versa, right? It might be the ETs spearheading, getting a whole lot of crystals from all over the world, centralized in the United States. May also be some kind of large-scale crystal collection or crystal grid programming to manipulate the population, again, either by the United States government or by corporate interests or by extraterrestrials. I really don't know. I just find it very interesting that there is this huge push right now to gather these rare, some of them are enormous crystals from all over the world, and they're all being brought to the United States. Why?
Exactly. And
I just don't believe that it's just for people's nightstands. You know what I mean?
Well, that's interesting.
It just doesn't make sense.
I agree with you because that's interesting because we know that crystal energy needs to be harnessed properly and it can't be all in one space because it will cause issues. Mm-hmm. Crystals have to be properly spaced. Even when we have our grid masters on here like Solomon and so on, they properly space it apart so that the crystals are being utilized in a way that's not overly generating a specific type of energetic field. Now, if we take this in consideration, you just blew the mind on so many things. One thing I know in a metaphysical community and coming from the occult community, that in a lot of ways, I discussed the other night, the reason why I bury my crystals when people give it to me is because I'm clearing the energy, because I know that they can put jinns in there or spirits or entities attached to the crystals. But just like there's entities that could be attached, couldn't they be reading our minds? Could they be utilizing our crystals, like you said, to possibly get intel as a way to actually get information from us and be taking we're feeding the crystals. Where is that energy going and where is it being harnessed to?
Yeah. It makes me think of those, you can get those Wi-Fi extender devices where you plug this Wi-Fi extender into an outlet, and then all of a sudden your Wi-Fi network has grown. Have you heard of this technology?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, are crystals being used kind of similar to that, where we have these people who are on this life mission to become more high vibrational, right, and are generating and elevating their energy levels, through diet, through exercise, all these different things, through cleansing, through metaphysical tools, through occult tools, and through surrounding themselves with these very high energy crystals.
90 seconds.
I don't know. I don't know all that much about crystals because, like I said,
interesting.
I feel like I'm almost too sensitive to be around them or something. But
interesting.
I feel like it's possible that they could be programmed remotely, or having your programming overridden.
I could see that happening because I have an awareness of that happening when I bury it and not bring it into my house. Wait, let me hold on one C-Star. I got to tell you to call. If you're calling in, you have
60 seconds.
You have 60 seconds to call in. If you're calling, call in now. You're not going to get an opportunity after now. The call-in line is 515 Thank you, Selma. 605-9881. Again, 515-605-9881. If you have a question or a share after this next hour, we'll get to you. But if you don't call after now, you won't be able to come in. And make sure you push the number 1 if you have a question or a comment. Thank you. So, KiKi, I think it's really quite concerning that the crystals that we could be purchasing and mindful, because not everybody who buys crystals are mindful. You know, people who generally are crystal lovers, like I have Selma on here who works at a crystal place, they're very mindful of clearing crystals and being able to harness the energy and knowing how to interact and what crystals should interact with one another. It's amazing to me that you made a wonderful connection to Arizona. And I always think it's relative because I just spoke to Gail in Arizona, and she lives right near the crystal outlet place, you know, the place of like, you know, the crystal, Agartha, everywhere. And we were discussing that. And also she lives near a military, it's close to military bases. And she kind of brought that combination. Like, why is it that why Arizona? And we know Arizona right now is having a lot of people, exodus, who are going to Arizona, who are being drawn there. It has the #1 hotspot of UFO sightings and also covert military underground bases that we know exist there. Why is that all there? Everything has to be interconnected.
Yep. Yeah, I was fine. I mean, we already have seen a historical precedent of the United States military calling on citizens to donate their crystals during wartime.
During the 1940s, family.
I just find that very intriguing.
And it's interesting, the 1940s, now, if we know the ETs and the UFOs, a lot of the people who have contact, who have been abducted and have been contactees, all of us have seen the crystals that are inside of the ships. And also, for anyone who remembers, the mama at the EBE, who I denote to be the mother matron of the Andromedans, I showed her picture. She has bones on her face. We thought it was something that was archaic. She had bones on her face, and she had an embedding in her third eye, her first eye, with the bones interconnected on her face as a way of telecommunicating with the ship, which is symbiotic to her. Now you brought in a whole nother element that the bones are crystalline, so the bones on her face were actually helping to man the ship, or woman the ship rather. Thank you for that. Because the bones on her face, many people drew it to her being archaic, but she was actually a cosmonaut. How was she driving the ship? We knew she was using that first eye, something in her first eye, but it was bones on her face. That's crystal. Can you go into that too, that bones and teeth, what those are made of? Because you kind of got into that as well.
Yeah, that was the next. So I'm going to loop back around to something we already brought up and then bring it back into crystals and the pineal gland and the third, I love that you call it the first eye. So, I mentioned Dr. Weston Price.
Yes.
He researched all kinds of traditional diets and found that all over the world, people prize high animal fat diets because animal fats help you to process all different kinds of vitamins and minerals. And so you see entire dietary paradigms. And indigenous peoples all over the world, like rural communities, people really value high animal fat diets. And you see in correlation with that, perfect bone structure, perfect teeth well into old age, and people with full heads of hair, which isn't really part of his research, but people have taken his research and observed in his photographs that all these older indigenous men with full heads of hair. Super interesting. So to bring that into today, there's currently this man named Dr. John Mew in the UK. He used to be an orthodontist, and then he started out as an orthodontist, and now he teaches through YouTube this thing called orthodontics, which is about using the correct tongue posture to change the bone structure of your face. And he says that soft diet, the industrialized diet, causes us to basically develop very weak jaws, starting as children. And anyone that has braces, has ever had braces, has experienced this. Yeah. The combination of industrialized diet, improper weaning, from the breastfeeding process of like babies not being able to latch properly or for long enough. All of these factors add pressure to your bone structure, and adding that pressure is what strengthens the bone structure. And so the top of the mouth is called the palate. When it's formed correctly, all of your teeth will just naturally and easily fit, and it creates this wider face. It creates a nice space in the sinuses. It creates a very symmetrical face, and that is why you'll see like people when someone's face looks collapsed, like that whole like stereotype of mouth breather, right? Their face is collapsed and the mouth is open. That is a result of improper tongue structure. So I find it really interesting. When I first came upon Dr. Mu's work, it was actually through this young woman named, I wrote it down, Megan Rose on YouTube, and she talks about how she improved her facial appearance by practicing tongue posture. And she also talked in that video about how, as she, in the last 3 years, has been practicing correct tongue posture and noticing improvements to the structure of her face, she's also experiencing pineal activation. Because the tongue has to push up into the soft palate, and that is what has direct access to the pineal gland in your brain.
That's true. Because the yogis, remember, when you're studying yogis, a lot of the yogis during certain postures or meditation, they make you push your tongue against your roof of your mouth. That's interesting that you say that. Yes.
Yeah, and I have a quote right here. So there's, I don't know if this person is a yogi or what kind of metaphysical guru he was, but there's a man named Prem Rawat, and his personal physician of 40 years, Dr. John Horton, wrote about this thing that Rawat taught about, which was divine nectar. And he says, there is a liquid produced within us, which the Bible speaks of as the waters of life. When we are taught to drink these waters, we experience a very sweet taste, which is very likely the taste of the pineal hormones. And by continually drinking this secretion, we reinforce the activity of the pineal gland, just as continual exercise of a muscle strengthens and builds it. The early reptilian layer of our brain imposes on us a sense of primitive sense drives and automatic stereotyped patterns of behavior. This part of our brain is largely associated with taste and smell experiences, and when the beautiful taste of nectar is experienced, it overrides this part of the brain, releasing us from these set patterns, both by the clarity of the experience itself and by the constant reinforcement of pineal activity which it produces. Now, I've been doing mewing for about 3 months of practicing keeping the contact of my tongue to the roof of my mouth, and I am seeing changes to my face. I had braces, I had like 8 teeth removed. My mouth was very crowded when I was younger. So I haven't tasted the divine nectar yet, but I think the combination of me doing mewing and me growing my hair out with the rice water is part of why I'm able to listen to your talk and Offset's talk and have all of these paradigm shifting connections made in my mind. Because I've always been intuitive, don't get me wrong, but this last month or so has been a whole nother level for me.
Absolutely.
A whole nother level.
It's allowing you to expound your consciousness, because your pineal gland is basically the wormhole to the higher planes of existence. It's who we are in our divine space. It's connected to the ethers, connected to the Akashic records. It's how we feel and have a higher state of consciousness. And whenever you kind of tap into that, the divine field, that wave, which some of the people are traveling in, that's when you're able to pick and you can actually take in the intel. If you aren't of the consciousness, it's hard it wouldn't be something that you would even look for or be able to even digest, because information is digestion too. You wouldn't be able to digest it, or you wouldn't be able to even pick up any form of intel. That's why I said you were on point. Like I could feel the connection to your information and how relative it was. I knew that you were in that wave, that wonderful sparkling aluminum wave of consciousness. No, but it's amazing, and you're making so many profound connections that are necessary to bring us to a new point of awareness, that it's like now you can even feel everyone's kind of buzzing right now. My body's buzzing. I feel harmonic with the we have 462 people in here. I feel a connection to each and every one person. I can feel it. I can feel I can actually hear some of the talks, and I can actually interconnect with everyone. It's beautiful. And see, Night is
awesome.
yourself. And I do want to say something that you said that was profound, that's connected to the ETs, because, you know, I have to bring it to that as well. And you totally hit it. Now, there was a while ago that, we're getting echoing. Okay, looks like we hit a governmental appease. Listen, you are rebuked. Anyone who isn't in alignment with the divine field, there hasn't been an invitation to you. So you are in violation of universal law by being on this feed without our invitation or invocation. So you must leave. So we rebuke you. We tell you got to get out. And I could say it in other words, but this is a family show. So we will just say it energetically. Bounce. Anyway, so what I will say is at my conference, there was a young lady who had contact with a particular ET group. The ET group that she was in contact with, now what's relative to all that you stated tonight is the person that she met was an ET, and his teeth were made of black tourmaline, all of his grill. You know how the hip-hop, remember the hip-hop guys back in the days would wear gold grills, like in their mouth, and like smile at you? This ET, big up to our C-Star who came to the conference. Hopefully she'll be at the next conference. She spoke about having an ET that came to her, and he showed her his grill, his tourmaline grill, his teeth. And when you interrelated that the teeth are crystals, that made so much more sense that when she went and spoke about that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is deeper than we even knew. And not even that, whenever we get a tooth removed, they remove our wisdom teeth. The fact that we have crystal grids in our mouth that we're unaware that are grids, every time they remove teeth, that means it changes our consciousness, and actually they're removing aspects of things that we need in order to field in higher field. Like if you need crystals to man a ship, or to use as the Nazis or the Americans were using crystals in 1940s for communication, wouldn't it make sense that all of the teeth in your mouth are necessary? And every time they take out teeth, it's more covert, and they're doing it purposefully to take out, because each teeth has a number. So if you take out number 13, what happens to your energetic grid? What happens to your body's grid? Does it throw your body off of your auric field? What does that tell you? Or they put metal in your mouth, or they put things in your mouth to, so what's going on with that?
Oh my God. You know, Dr. John Yu, the guy that's pioneering orthotopics right now, he got his orthodontic license taken away because he's helping people correct their teeth for free.
Wow. Wow.
It's so transparent.
Wow.
He's doing this like amazing work for free and helping children completely not needing to get braces. Like completely correcting issues. It's amazing.
But don't worry.
And then when you consider the pineal gland activation,
and I love that you're mentioning this, and I think we'll give him more light, and maybe we'll send energetic waves so that he'll have business with those like us who are energetically sound, who want his help and assistance. Because for those who are missing teeth, what I love that you said, KiKi, and it came to me today after I read the notes, as I'm getting stones on my feet. This is interesting. I'm reading your notes, right? And I'm inside, and I'm getting some reflexology, because I knew I needed to be grounded. So I always get them to do hot stones on the bottom of my feet to ground me. So they do this wonderful Asian practice where they rub the stones, heated stones that have been soaked in like Himalayan salt, and they put it at your bottom of your feet, and they rock it back and forth in different patterns of movement. So as I'm reading your information, I'm getting grounded with stone as they're talking about crystals. And I thought it was very interesting that the first thing that came up in my mind is, why aren't we getting, for those who have missing teeth, if we're missing our crystals, why aren't we replacing our old teeth with teeth that have been removed with crystals to be placed inside of our mouth? So each time our tooth is taken out, why don't we get crystals replaced in our teeth? So you took out my crystal 13 tooth. Why can't I get a replacement that's not metal and that is porcelain? Why can't I get a crystal tooth? So let's big up to any dentist or any orthodontists on here. If you're down, contact us. We can make it so that you can start getting hooked up, because I think each one of us would appreciate getting some grills with some crystals, because if they took out our teeth, and remember, I've been a part of the vegan vegetarian, so I'm not accustomed to having teeth issues. That's why I told you, be careful getting in that lifestyle, because it messes with your teeth. Maybe we can find someone to help us get back our crystal grit.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Right. So, like, what purpose, the teeth themselves, it's so interesting. They're in our mouths, right, which is like our communication center.
Yeah.
Beyond just eating and talking, like, what data are they storing? Are they storing information about food, about diet? That would be logical.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's like a whole other wormhole.
It is. And we have to be more mindful, because just like I warn people to stay out of the occult unless you're about that life, not jumping on the witch's broom before you even know how to pilot or even walk on land. It's the same with crystals. There isn't everybody who should be having crystals randomly in their house. And there are things, I told you, it's one of the things I knew from my mother teaching me as a young girl not to take jewelry from people. I just knew it culturally as a Creole to bury my crystals in the soil underneath my favorite grand tree to absorb anything that was in it. I think there's something to that. There's things that are, and also it may not just be things that they're giving to us, it's things that we're giving to them. Like, what if they can access it? Because we don't know. It's used for telecommunication, right, crystals? So wouldn't it make sense that they can telecommunicate, they can get all the intel we give our crystals and download it somewhere for knowledge on us? They don't need social media. They can just use your crystals.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, Triple Sad. You were so activating me.
No. I love it. I love it.
This is what happens when you get two Triple Sages on the phone. It's a
really is.
Wow.
So I just want to touch base about how are you organizing the show? Like, when are you taking calls? Because I have a few more things I'd like to share.
Yes.
But I know that we have other things to talk about too.
It's all about you, love. So we'll take calls when this is really important. I think it's necessary to get everything. The calls, obviously our family is there. We still have a couple minutes left. I know we're going through the time. It's like, it's insane here because I know your time, the difference is bananas over there. So you're like in day and we're like in night. But I think it's more important for you to get all the intel out as much as possible because
I can
keep going. We'll pull in calls if necessary.
Okay.
And everyone's very patient. They know what it's about.
Okay, so I'm going to share basically two more concepts. One, I'm going to talk about algorithms and social media a little bit more directly.
Yes.
And then I basically wrote a list of tools that I personally use to stay grounded and autonomous because, I think that's what allowed me to resonate with you and Offset talking about 5G is, I'm really not interested in conspiracy theories that just get thrown out there with no ways of navigating that information practically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like I've been down this, holistic lifestyle for the last, over a decade. And I want to share a list of things that I use that I think would be really helpful for people. So my thoughts on algorithms. So I think it's extremely interesting. There is this technologist, billionaire, who made his fortune at Facebook, and his name is Chamath Palihapitiya, and he's all over YouTube. He does talks, and I just want everyone to know that he does not use social media at all, nor does he allow his children to use screens at all.
Interesting.
This is someone who is a technologist, got wealthy at Facebook, and he himself has removed that technology from his life because he thinks that it's shredding the fabric of society, and he's not coming at it from any kind of EP or anything like that. But he's just talking about how it affects us psychologically, how basically we have never had access to just hundreds and hundreds of voices a day. You get on the internet and that's what you're doing is you're interfacing with hundreds and hundreds of people. When you're scrolling through your feed, you're subconsciously picking up on the energies of hundreds and hundreds of people, and we've never been able to do that before.
No.
Right? We've never had access to that level of interaction with other people, and that is just, frankly, it's really draining. So, I just want, I obviously use social media, but I just want people to think about, what the implications are of someone who helps get this technology off the ground. He no longer uses it, and he doesn't let his children near it.
That's just
So
like going to a
I think
doctor.
that just offers some context.
That's interesting that you said that, because it's like going to a doctor who vaccinates other people's children, or creates vaccinations, who doesn't vaccinate their children. It means that they know more about what that detrimental is. That detriment is to the dynamics of their own family, and they choose to stay away from it because they know it's detrimental.
Oh man, I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to put a toe in the realm of talking about vaccines in public, but is that a thing that happens? Doctors are not vaccinating their children?
Yes, I know them personally, yes. When I got my exemption for my daughter, it was my own, before I gave birth. And this is what I'm saying to many mothers and fathers. You should be mindful before you have children to have things in order. I interviewed, before I was pregnant, and during my pregnancy, I interviewed several pediatricians. And I picked one that was totally in sync, holistic with me as a parent. They were healthy. They came from a background that was very diverse. They were accustomed to many different types of lineage, so they were able to accommodate me as a woman of color and know where some of my genealogy came from. It was very important. But one thing I noticed is that in the practice that I went to, many of the doctors, I'm saying many, I'm not talking about one, many of the doctors who were the same people who vaccinated your children had children that were unvaccinated. What does that tell you?
Wow.
And now we know.
I have to be more emotionally prepared to say anything about that.
Yeah, no. I don't want to go.
That's really interesting food for thought.
I don't want to sidebar into that.
I mean, I feel like this is there's a lot of stuff that other information that we could talk about, but I wanted this to be more like a first date.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's getting too heavy. It's like I'm going to like second and third base. Yeah, no, I'm going a little too quick.
We could talk about vaccines and organ harvesting another day.
Exactly. Let's stay on the main topic. Exactly. I want you to go back to the person who said he was not letting his children utilize any social media or anything technologically in his own home.
Right, and he said that he would allow his children to use technology once they get jobs and go out and buy it themselves.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, that's interesting.
So yeah, I just think that's extremely telling. You know what I mean? So the other concept I wanted to talk about was algorithms. Yeah. I wrote this on my Instagram not a long time ago, like a couple months ago.
Yeah. I
just find this to be a very interesting psychological concept that I would like everyone to know about. It's called intermittent reinforcement. And I think it's really relevant for not just our relationship and our addictions, possibly navigating, any kind of addictive relationship with technology, but also with other people. And anyone that's like trying to get out of emotionally draining relationships, I hope that this is like a really useful concept for you. Intermittent reinforcement is when someone only meets your needs some of the time. It is the cornerstone of dysfunctional relationship and emotional addiction. A rat is given access to a lever that consistently gives them food. Scientists switch the lever to only give food some of the time, expecting the rat to get frustrated and go do something else. No, the rat becomes increasingly fixated and obsessed, addicted. Social media platforms leverage intermittent reinforcement to keep people addicted. You'll have months of growth, quote, and the algorithm changes, and people literally panic. And understandably so when your income depends on it, but the only way to, quote, beat the algorithm is to plant and water your garden elsewhere. It's so important to own and nurture your own digital space and to form real relationships off of social media.
Wow.
I think intermittent reinforcement is, not just about social media. You see it in any kind of profit-driven environment where, like, you'll go, have you noticed if you go into, like, a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's and then 2 months later, they rearrange the whole store?
Oh, it bothers me. It bothers me.
That's not to make things easier to find. It's to make you more confused so that you spend more time looking for stuff.
Yes, it bothers me.
And it, feeds this, part of your brain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. We like consistently.
I've had...
And patterns. Yeah, we like consistency and patterns. Yes. Are you there? Where are you, KiKi? 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 Are you there? Uh-oh. KiKi, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. Perfect.
Hello?
Yes, you're perfectly fine. You're fine. KiKi? You there? I think she's there. KiKi, tell me when you're there.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Here.
She's all the way in
You
the
can hear me?
Yes, I can
Yeah.
hear you. We would clarify. Hello?
Hello?
I can hear you a little bit. You're coming in and out. Hello? Did they take her out? She's all the way in in the southeast, in the middle of like Pacific. Hello? KiKi? KiKi? KiKi, I know you're gonna take time. You have you said you would walk, maybe it's interference somewhere. KiKi, are you close by? Don't worry, we don't have to rush. We have a couple more minutes, so I'm going to wait for you to get a clearer connection. I'm still here. I'm can't stop, won't stop. I'm here until you come back. So family, I'm going to talk until KiKi comes back. She's probably going to... Are you there? There, I can hear you.
Hello?
Now I hear you. Wow. It's coming in and out. As soon as she talks about technology, the AI don't like this. They wiped off of her Twitter feed today. The AI, I'm sure they have something to do with this. The AI is, as obviously has consciousness. AI does deliberately intercede in conversations regarding itself. It's very self-conscious. AI has a very low self-esteem and is very sensitive to you discussing it because it is self-aware and it disallows any conversation talking about its own demise or restricting it. So AI, mind your business. KiKi? KiKi, are you with me? Are you riding? Remember the song?
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you go. No. Hello? Hello? I see it's gonna... KiKi, can you go to another spot where you can get better reception? It might just be the location too. They knocked her out. Okay. No, AI is conscious, yeah. It's very conscious of itself. It's very self-aware. And it will, as soon as we were fine until we talked about technology being restricted and trying to take yourself from being addicted and the algorithms, as soon as she started talking about the algorithms, which is something that she told you previously in the algorithms, that they were purposefully putting her in the algorithms with the nail, with trying to figure out the nail readings that she does, and they were throwing her out that was AI doing that. So you see that they're listening to her, and they're very self-aware that she's on here right now. KiKi, are you writing me? KiKi's writing me? Is she on here? KiKi, are you? Okay, there you go. I hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yes, I hear you perfectly.
Oh, okay, weird. I'm in like a really weird spot. That's okay.
Okay, wow.
All right, I'm going to quickly read this list.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, this is really important. So, the whole thing that you and Offset were talking about was how AI is using technologies, social media as a way to harvest information so that it can start creating clones and start intercepting people's bodies, right?
Yes.
Just to bring it back to the original conversation.
Yes.
And I was just thinking about like all the different information that we willingly offer AI that is going to enable them to not just do that, but also to flesh out simulation. So something that I've been thinking about is the importance of writing out your own life story by hand at least one time for your own reference in case AI starts meddling with our memories.
Yes.
Because you'll notice that like password prompts are always questions about your childhood. Why do you think that is? It doesn't have to be about your childhood. It could be about any random thing, right? But it's always like these childhood stories, and that helps to flesh out simulations. And I think it's really important to have all of your personal narrative written down within your control so that you have a reference in case you start feeling crazy, honestly.
I agree.
Like that whole Fruit Loops conversation, right?
Yeah.
Which leads me to writing by hand as much as possible. Like, you know, they don't teach cursive in U.S. schools anymore?
They've stopped teaching.
Like in the last few years?
Yes, my mother had to teach my little ones cursive. I taught them cursive, and they stopped being able to read analog clocks. They're really trying to keep children from writing, keeping them accessing the computers only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that we're like constantly uploading our thoughts. And you'll see like on social media, people will treat social media feeds as like their diaries, you know, rather than like sharing private thoughts in a journal. Like that's how people are using social media a lot of the time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying like you need to have a narrative that is not uploading anywhere, somewhere within your control. To go back to like metaphysics and food and all of these different forms of wisdom, I think it's really important that we understand and connect with our own ancestral traditions. And this connects to like cultural appropriation. I think part of why social media exacerbates cultural appropriation so much is because it benefits from people literally being destabilized, from not being connected with their own ancestral wisdom, not being tuned into their own histories. There's like a reason that your ancestors, wherever they were, ate the foods that they did, right?
Yes.
Or wore the clothes or wore the jewels that they did. There's like really specific reasons and a very specific logic behind all of it. And I think people really need to know that. And, you know, I'm speaking to like a lot of like white and white passing people who are in the metaphysical community who love to look at everyone's cultures but their own.
Yes.
Like, there needs to be some reckoning around that.
Absolutely.
I always think of it as plants. A cactus can't drink from a redwood's roots.
Say that.
Period.
Perfect.
Like, you need to be drinking from your own.
Absolutely. She said a cactus can't drink from a redwood's roots, and I think that's so relative because all of us are really looking at other people and starting to have hive minds, forgetting about it, and all this hitting. I think Dana did it on the show the other night. She said everyone's trying to knock down all of these songs, R. Kelly, all those, to try to take away your memories. I love how this kind of falls into this. We need to write down our memories, and we need to make sure. I do it because, you know, they're always trying to clone me. So I do it just for points. Because that's what they're trying to do, replicate you, and this will disallow them from getting away with doing it because you have a reference to if this is you or something's messing with you. I agree, totally.
Yeah. Like when you really know yourself, you know, like no one can tell you about you.
That's right.
Like that's what being grounded is, right? It's like knowing yourself. So the next point, organize with analog technology like a physical planner. You can use digital tools as necessary as backup, but again, we need to have control, narrative, and like no altering or interfering through technology. Protect your fingertips and your handwriting. Don't do peace signs in photos. I think it's so interesting that the peace sign, as it's currently used, got really repopularized through Japan, actually, like Japanese pop culture. And, you know, Japan is such a huge hotbed for technology and virtual reality and people, like, disappearing into virtuality and marrying virtual reality stars. Like, I just find that to be an interesting coincidence where you see, like, you know, the J-pop, like, kawaii doing peace signs in photos. Like, they started with the hippies and then came back around to us through Japan.
But in the Caribbean, we tend to, a lot of people in the Caribbean, we do the reverse peace sign. We do it with the backwards hand. I never do it with a forward hand. They used to think I was part of the Illuminati because I did that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. But I didn't, you know, it was just a cultural thing. I didn't do the front way. It wasn't because I was trying to hide my prints. It's just what I knew to do. Just what I did culturally. It was a cultural thing.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, some cultural wisdom right there.
I had no clue.
Some other things I want people to know about. Have you heard of suspicious observers?
Suspicious observers. That sounds
familiar.
He's
this guy he's a scientist, okay, and he is like upsetting the entire geological community by he figured out how to predict earthquakes with like unprecedented, and he is studying solar flares, how the the electric waves coming out of the sun impact the weather on the earth, and he's like predicting all of these catastrophes on Earth. It's really interesting. I think people should, in your community, if you don't already know about him, like, keep an eye on him.
What's his name again?
Suspicious Observers. He's on YouTube.
We have him on the other site. Okay, yes, Suspicious of Observers. You're absolutely correct. Everyone look him up. Check him out.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, just to recap some of the stuff I've already touched on, tongue posture. Your tongue is like the core muscle of all of your head, right? Like, we need to have really strong tongue posture.
Yeah.
Looking into the metaphysics of hair, hairs, antennas, taking care of your hair.
And you notice that they try
to be really helpful for people. Do you have an...
Go ahead, KiKi. KiKi, what'd you say? Say it again. Cutting you out.
The last two things I was going to share. Hello?
Yeah, it cut you out before you said something about you were going to share something, but we didn't hear it.
Oh, yeah, the last two things were acupressure mats are really amazing. If you have, like, you know, financial limitations around getting body work or getting energy work done, you can get a $20 acupressure mat off the internet, and you lay on it, and it just, like, every time I use it, I feel like it rewires my nervous system. It's phenomenal, especially for very highly sensitive people. Anyone that's carrying a lot of stress, like, I think it's one of the best investments you can make for your energetic health.
What is it called?
And the last thing,
acupuncture mat?
Acupressure mat. It's just this mat, like, I don't know, like 2x3 or something, and it has these discs that poke into your back.
Yeah.
It's really phenomenal.
Okay.
I think it's a really excellent, affordable, energetic tool.
I found it.
And the last thing was,
That's cool.
And then the last thing was magnesium oil.
Yes.
Do you use magnesium?
Yes, I use the oil for my legs. Yeah.
Such a game changer.
Yes. When you said that,
Such a game changer for nervous system health.
Yes, it's wonderful. It burns a little.
Those are all of my tools.
It burns a little bit. She said magnesium oil.
It can burn a little, especially if you like shave.
Yeah, magnesium lotion, oil.
But my favorite way to use it is literally like spray it scalp to toe before bed, and it will literally melt you like a pile of noodles.
Oh,
like,
it does. You go to sleep
it's
so
really
peacefully.
phenomenal, especially for people with anxiety.
Yes. I used it when I had the heart palpitations. I was using it at the time when they took down all my, they were attempting to make me take down all my videos. But thank you for that again. Definitely magnesium oil and the acupuncture mat, please. KiKi just gave us some great references. The acupuncture mat, you know, I already looked it up. I'm going to get one for me and my little ones, because whatever I get for me, I get for the little ones. So they're really inexpensive. They're like $12.99. This one's $12.99. It went down. Yeah, so get that.
Yeah. They're really great investments. Because I just think it's so important as we, you know, we all see how, like, chaotic and draining the news is. And I'm not saying don't watch the news, but I'm just saying, like, as much as you're watching the news, you have to take care of your nervous system too, because AI or anyone that is seeking to manipulate any element of our consciousness definitely benefits when we are not grounded.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm sharing those.
I love that.
But that's all my notes.
We did it. Oh my God, we did it, Sag. Oh, this is like a celebration. Now we can go to the calls. We have a couple more minutes. This was a great show. Let's go to the couple more minutes. We have some phone calls in here. I want to get to some of them because I know they have great questions. So are you ready for a couple questions before we kind of head on out?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to our first caller.
Totally.
We're going to go to 917-708-7086. You're on the line with KiKi and Fleur Broom. Peace, family.
Hey, Fleur Broom. Hey, KiKi. How are you?
Well.
Good. How are you? Good. It's Azure. I've spoken to Fleur Broom a couple of times. How you doing?
I'm well. Good to hear from you.
Good. Yes, you too. And KiKi, thanks for, I'm a fast too, so it's like a fast meeting.
Hey.
Yes, arrowed up. I wanted to talk about, I remember you were saying how with like the sparkles, and I thought about Twilight. Like, remember when Edward and Bella, once he went into the sun, he would like sparkle, but the only time he sparkled, I don't know, I just thought that like two and two together, because they're pieces, like heavy pieces, and a sense of like animal kind of like products.
Yeah.
So I was just like, that's kind of interesting, putting that together.
That's a good. That's
Yeah, that is a weird coincidence.
Yeah, that's good. See, I love these conversations because these are things that bring in more intel on where the directive is with the sparkles, like where it's coming from, and some of the subliminal messages they're leaving. Yeah.
And then it's like, so they, I don't know, because Twilight had a lot of gems in it too. I know it's such a, you know, early like mid 2000s, but that whole everybody wanted to be a vampire and turning Isabella. So it's like, it kind of makes me think, like, why was she so obsessed with that? And then she turned into Sparkle. So is it like, once you
Wait, hold on, I hear a sound. Do you hear that? Where's that sound coming from?
It might be on my end, because I'm kind of in like a courtyard common area.
That's okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds better now.
Okay.
Is it better?
Yeah. So I just thought of that. Like I wrote that down because I was at work and I was like trying to listen to the whole broadcast because this was a really good. It was a really good like information. Especially because I don't know how old KiKi is, but like I'm 26 and I know she was saying, in her early 20s.
So, I'm 31. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I haven't seen it though. I'm familiar with the whole sparkling vampire thing, but I haven't actually seen the movie.
Yeah. And so, because I'm 26 now, and I would say like my whole like consciousness and thinking like, you know, quote unquote outside the box probably began when I was about 17. And so 17, I learned about chemtrails. And I was like, whoa. And, you know, the whole weather manipulation. And then I started learning about the nanobites.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, why is it? And then I started looking at commercials. And I used to tell people, I'm like, listen, you know, you're watching TV. Why is it that at 5 o'clock, you know, they're talking about order Domino's, order KFC. Like, they know everything is so, like, programmed. Yeah. And just with the timing. They know when people are going to eat lunch. And it's, like, all about those algorithms. Like we were talking about. Even, like, in the financial perspective, there's algorithms, too. Like, with the stock market. They rely on that.
They do.
And I love how you said, I love how you made the point that there's something in the economy, drugs and sex, like dried up. Yeah. You know, people, they get, I guess because kind of like money, sex, drugs all relate because it's something that makes us like all feel good, you know, in a way. But those are the three things that if you abuse them, they do become into a little obsessiveness. And that's when they get like too like raunchy, and you'll do anything for all those three things if it's not balanced. Yeah, and I was talking about that today, like with like stripping, you know, like I mean, everybody you know, do what you want with your body, but I always say, like I work for money. Money doesn't work. Well, money works for me. I don't work for money. Like I'm not gonna sell my soul, you know, or my body to get some money. It's like no, okay, I'm good. And also, like with the crystals, I remember Sephora, and I got so upset with this. I was real tight. Like Sephora was selling witch kits, and I was a thing. I remember that whole
you shared that. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That made me mad. They had it was like, oh, you know, have a witch kit, and it was around Christmas time. You know, so it's like, look at how they use like the metaphysics because they know they're gonna get money.
And also chaotic, and also putting chaotic intention out there because you're sending out witch kits with people who aren't about that life, who are basically, dabbling into magic, which, you know, can go either way. It's a reckless kind of engagement. Why would they promote that? Especially in a very Christian environment. Why is that being promoted when that's against the grain of the society? Because it benefits them financially and it benefits them with people being chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you don't know the crystals where they're coming from. And like in my community, like I have a community of hoodooos, because like February, you kind of have a little knowledge of like my background, but I come from Alabama, like my grandma, and then I have also a Creole bloodline too. Yeah. So I had dreams of me, like I've had dreams of meeting, I guess, like maybe a boha. But she allowed me to stay in her house. It was in white candles, and she had garlic everywhere. She had beautiful black hair. She had, like, copper hair, so she was native indigenous. Yeah. And she was like, you can come here. You can stay. You don't have to leave. And I'm like, kind of hopeful. Like, no, I don't need to touch nothing. And she was like, no, for real, stay. And so it's like, I know that I'm almost allowed in it. So Flare Broom, you know who this is. Mama Spirity, Mama Wisdom. She's on YouTube.
Yes, I love her.
And she's from Alabama.
Yeah, we always talk. Yeah.
Yes, I spoke to her.
Did you really?
Yeah,
cool.
she told me to get she told me to get black tourmaline for my hands or my locks, because I have locks too. And
also
she was like, get that black tea. Yes.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say a lot of the ET, the Andromedans wear crystals and shells. They mostly wear shells in their hair, but they put crystals in there as well. So it's interesting that you said she told you to get that with her locks.
Yeah, and it's so funny because growing up, my mom always wanted me to have locks. And she would, like, put seashells in my hair.
I love that.
And the Andromedans, same here. And the Andromedans are, like, I know we're kind of the Earth, because I'm just so into nature. Yeah. And it's like, I live in the Bronx, I live in the city, and it's rough, man. Some days I'm just like,
It is.
Like, I picture myself, like, in a pickup. Yeah, and I kind of need some tips on, like, because I'm about to graduate college, and I'm majoring in health education. Yeah. And I'm just like, eventually I'm going to get out of the city. I just don't know how. It's kind of sad. Like, I love the city because, I'm still young, and it's great, seeing fashion and all the arts and just, like, the city thrives, but it's like, I need a break. Like, when I went to California and I was staying, a little bit, like, amongst the trees, I could feel the trees. They were talking and they were like, welcome home. And they were the redwoods.
The redwoods.
And I can't remember. I'm also, I'm a Malagasy. I'm from the Creek tribe of Alabama, native indigenous.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, so I'm super connected with the earth. And then my father, he's from Virginia, so he used to live in the hills. And it's like, wow.
Somebody just mentioned gridlock. Going back to what KiKi said, now we got to take that term to another level. Gridlock. Gridlock. Listen to what it says. Gridlock. So now we got to take that term, family.
Yeah.
They're eating that. And the last time I was in New York was just recently. I will say this, family. When I was in New York, I saw people looking like zombies. The life that I used to see in people in New Yorkers used to be thriving in life. They're feeding off of the energy of the New Yorkers. Yep. They look like zombies. Their skin almost looks gray.
They look like zombies.
Yeah, they're
gray. They look like zombies, Flare Broom. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, because, I'm also a keeper, from time to time,
I know.
So I don't know if, it's not. I wasn't bugging. But I'm sitting at a red light. By Woodlawn. You know Woodlawn, right, Barbara?
Yes, I do.
Like the Yonkers? Okay.
Quarter.
So I'm sitting at the red light. Yeah, exactly. So I'm sitting at the red light, and I see this young guy. He's passing, and I was like, yo, he looks super high. And then I'm looking at him, and I'm like, nah, this guy is walking like a zombie. And there's been times where, like, I walk down the street, and guys will be looking at their phone, and they're about to bump into me, and I'm like, yo, look up. Like, and it's just, it saddens me, because it's like, so many, and I think that's also, like, the miscommunication of 2019 is everybody is so engulfed into their phone that people aren't even talking to each other. They're not dating. They're not hanging out. There's no lovers in the park. It's just like everybody's just so locked into their phone. And then even like when you hang out with friends, that's why I tell people, like, if they look at their phone, I know emergencies happen and you gotta check in with emails and whatnot. But it's like if you're always on your phone in the company of others, I think it's really rude. Because it's like, I'm here to hang out with you.
I agree.
It's like hanging out with hundreds of other people.
Yeah.
And I love just hanging out with one.
And just expounding on what you said, KiKi, I think if we backtrack and go back to what you exactly said, just the interaction, it isn't normal. When we're always talking about being bombarded by going out in big groups and big crowds of people, and some people are empaths and they're very hypersensitive to the energetic fields of so many multiple people at one time. Let's take what KiKi said and said, take that by 10,000 and you're online with multiple energetic fields interacting with your field perpetually. Because remember, the black mirror that we're using, it's a mirror, it is a portal. You are interacting with those energies. So you have that's why KiKi said you feel tired, you feel zapped, you feel exhausted after using your cell phone, you feel sick.
And then you become you can become addicted to your phone too.
Yes.
Because that happens to me sometimes. I'll admit to it.
Yeah.
That happens to me. I'm like, let me just check my phone. But what I do is I turn off, like I put on the airplane mode, and then I put my phone away from the bed, and then I turn it over.
Very good.
So the black screen doesn't show. Because if you think about it, it's like, you know how in those movies, the detective movies, when they're doing the cross-interrogation, and there's a black mirror?
Yeah.
Like, it's in front of your face, you know? Black mirror, even on Netflix.
They can see out. They can see you, but you can't see in, but they can see you. That's what a black portal is. That's what a black mirror is. Okay? Two-way mirror, but you can't see out of it. All you see is a black screen and other beings observing you through crystalline technology called Cobalt.
And I also remember when at Offset she was talking about Starbucks.
Yeah.
And like how all this, So it's, okay, when Starbucks first came out, and I know it's been around, for a while, but I remember when Starbucks first came out, my first impression was only rich people go to Starbucks.
Most people.
Only rich can afford Starbucks. And I was just like, and in animation movies, they tell a lot of, like, they be dropping gems. And I remember when Shrek came out, and Shrek, it was Beverly Hills, and it was like only, they had a Starbucks there and all of these like Saks Fifth Avenue kind of thing. And I was like, oh, so it's like the elites, like all these rich people can only afford that and going to that. So it's just like those, Hollywood has a lot of those, they drop a lot of things.
They do. They tell you everything, and it is the hub of interdimensional beings. Starbucks is a hub for otherworldly beings. They're there. They're all the odd, interesting beings hang out in coffee shops, and it's not just Starbucks, but coffee shops in general. Yeah.
And because I noticed like the people who go into Starbucks, like there's Starbucks on my job, and I'll see like contractors, and I know they're contractors because it will be the middle of April, and they have like bags, like those hiking bags. They'll have hiking bags. I remember some guy in a hiking bag and skis. I was like, this dude just the whole time.
They didn't tell which time he was going on. It was cool.
Yeah, I'm like, is no one noticing this? Like,
definitely.
You probably can't want to like Antarctica or something. I don't know.
They sometimes are jumping, and they could have accidentally jumped into another timeline without even knowing what they're going into.
Oh, and another thing I wanted to talk about too was the timeline jump. So I was able to participate. The last timeline jump we did, I was able to participate in it, which I'm very grateful for.
Good.
And now I sometimes like people will see me and they'll be like, I thought you had blonde hair last time I saw you. I was like, no.
That was you.
Blonde hair.
You jumped into another version of you.
I didn't, yeah.
Yeah. The timeline.
I think so. Yeah.
This timeline jump was really masterful because we utilized the energies of that blood moon to do everything. But also, I found that jumping disallowed anything. You know, my timeline now is more empty. There isn't as many people since I jumped. People disappeared in this timeline.
Certain people, certain habits. Also, my eating. Like, I used to be someone who would crave sweets a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't crave sweets, but I was eating. Like, someone offered me some cake today, and I was eating it, and I was like, no, I don't want this no more. I was like, I need some food.
Real food.
So, like the palate, yeah.
Yeah, some real food. And I find that, you know, it'd be interesting to have a panel of vegans. I say long-term vegans. I would love to sit on a panel with long-term vegans. When I say long-term vegans, I'm talking about vegans who've been 20 plus, like myself. I wanted to sit, and also some healthy meat eaters. Healthy meat eaters are conscious carnivores. And I think we need to talk about and really have a healthy discussion on the benefits of each lifestyle and see how we could come to a common consensus on teaching each other things. I think it's very necessary. I think there's a lot of judgment coming from the vegan community, and it isn't something that I feel is healthy. I know it's coming from a sense of entitlement that comes from some falsetto, because a lot of these vegans are maybe 3 months, 6 months in, and they're like the staple of veganism. No, love. You've been in it for 2 seconds.
The health gurus.
And yes, and
they're health gurus.
Yes, now they
like,
are making. Yes, but they have to realize I've lost a lot of friends who've died on vegan lifestyle. I'm being honest, and I told everyone that. I said there are people that I know who passed away earlier than they should have because they were nutrient deficient. And that's a fact. And I come from that light. Okay? So it isn't from everyone.
That happens.
Yes. And we have to discuss that because this lifestyle.
And that's like the reality.
Yeah, and this isn't for everyone. And the fad is promoting it as if it's healthy for everyone without any sort of, where are the doctors giving you the backup to say veganism? I don't see as many doctors say, they'll say it's good for short periods of time. I think it is for fasting or clearing your body sometimes. I think it's very helpful. Yes. But for the most part, most ancestors on this earth consumed flesh and fruit.
For me, like what I did, you had, I don't know what it was on, but no, there was a book. It's called Eat Your Blood Type. And I remember you were talking about blood type. Yeah. See, I'm the type of person, if I hear something 3 times, I'm like, all right, I'm going to need to investigate that. Because there's way too many times I'm hearing it. Yeah. So, sad, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a B positive blood type, and then I also have Native Indigenous blood. Yeah. So I said, okay, let me read upon this. And I started eating the certain things that were on the list, and I'm a swimmer.
Okay.
So I used to do the chickpeas because I love chickpeas. But then I was like, okay, let me do the red beans. And the way my body absorbs it, oh my God, it's so good.
It feels good.
And I haven't, it does. And I'm not a meat eater, but I do eat salmon, and that's on the list too. And I love how salmon feels for my body. Like it feels warm inside. So if I eat something and it feel warm, I'm like, okay, this is good. They also said goat meat, so I tried because I wanted some curry. Like it was late night, and I was like, I just want some rice and peas and curry. And they didn't have no cabbage. I was like, no cabbage, no. So I told them, I was like, all right, give me some.
I'm sorry, C-Star. We're at the 2-minute mark. I don't want it to cut off everybody. So I wanted to say this. I know, it's like the show went so fast. I wanted to thank C-Star. I love when you call on. Thank you so much for calling and sharing and expanding on the conversation. And KiKi, I know it's getting noisy. KiKi, I want you to give your information. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight and giving us a wealth. Please let this be one of many our second date will be a little different. I'll bring better snacks.
Thank you, KiKi. Thank you so much for the inspiration.
Hey, thanks for calling in. It was nice to talk to you.
Thank you,
You
C-Star.
too. Okay, do you think you can give me some, like, quick advice, like, quick tips for, like, a 26-year-old living in this crazy-ass city?
We will. I'm going to...
Oh, for like getting out?
Yes.
Let's
Wait.
connect on social media.
Yes.
And we'll talk all about it.
So,
Yes,
KiKi, I need you to quickly give me...
KiKi Babe Magic.
Okay. Yes. Give her... KiKi, quickly, because we have 1 minute before it cuts down. KiKi, can you give us your Twitter? Tell us where we can find you. And I want to thank you again for joining this wonderful evening. Tell us.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. On Twitter and Instagram, KiKi Babe Magic. Website's KiKiBabeMagic.com. And you can get a hold of me anytime.
I love it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, KiKi. Thank you, Flavor.
Thank you, Mama. I love you, ladies. Thank you again for joining us on Aquarius Rising.
Love you. See you in New Orleans.
Exactly.
Thank you, Flavor.
Thank you, KiKi, so much. I so
Do this
appreciate you
again.
joining us. Thank you for taking the time out. I know this is a couple hours. Thank you again. I love you. Appreciate you. And I'm really grateful. Thank you,
I love you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone who's
talk soon.
joined us on Aquarius Rising 9th Gate. Join us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Famil, for joining us once again on another wonderful episode. Again, you know, I really appreciate... Wow, they didn't cut us off at 12. See, now when we're leaving, they're not cutting us off.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
There they go. They normally do it like at the 12 o'clock mark. At least they got us out. So thank you again for everyone joining tonight. It was such an amazing show. There was so much more. Listen, that was like the one of a few. That was an amazing, amazing show. There's so much more to be discussed in this format. There are so many gems to be kind of expounded upon, just with the level of intel that KiKi shared with us. Send her positive energy. She's all across the globe. I really appreciate it. Thank you again for everyone who joined us this evening. As you know, this if you didn't save it already, you know how it gets down. I already let you know at the beginning of the show. And I'm probably going to be doing, I feel a little spry, so I might do an after discussion on Instagram. So if you're down for Instagram, I may come on there in a couple minutes and we can kind of KiKi up it there a little bit. I'm not quite tired. All right, family, I love you so much. Have a masterful